Chapter 191. You? 14 years old? The youth looked Yunlu up and down, his face full of disbelief. This little girl looked at most 8 or 9 years old, yet she said she was already 14 and wanted him to call her sister. Did she think he was stupid? Girl, I am the 12th elder of the Divine Light sect, Shenyan. My father is the 6th elder of the Divine Light sect, Tua Kong. If you become my disciple and then enter the Divine Light sect, you will immediately become a proud daughter of the Divine Light sect and enjoy the best treatment in the sect. The middle-aged man smiled at Yunlu. Shen Yan was the 12th elder of the Divine Light sect, a mid-primal core adept. His father was the 6th elder of the Divine Light sect, Tua Kong, a late primal core adept. The Yuntai inn he was in now was one of his father's businesses. Today, he had seen the girl in front of him meet injustice and stand up for justice, displaying her connate level of practice. He was stunned. A little girl who looked less than 10 years old was an connate level adept. Was this a joke? This had completely overturned everything he knew. Even the mysterious young man named Zhou Donghuang, whom he had heard about a year ago, might not have had such practice at this age. At that time, Shen Yan had immediately approached Yunlu, subconsciously thinking that even if Yunlu was not a disciple of one of the 4 great sects of Ziyun, there must be a hidden master behind her, but when he probed, she said that she did not have a master and did not know what a master was. In that instant, he had been hot-headed and taken the girl back to the Yuntai inn to see if he could take her in as a disciple. In the future, if his son could marry this girl, not only would they be closer, but they would also have the hope of ascending to the top of the Divine Light sect. A connate level adept who was not even 10 years old, would one day enter the Dharma stage. Divine Light sect? When she had been taken to the Yuntai inn by the middle-aged man, Yunlu had panicked and did not know what to do. She had been so scared that she had crushed the jade tablet her brother had given her, but then she had completely calmed down, because she knew that her brother would definitely not let anything happen to her. Now, hearing Shen Yan's words, she frowned slightly. Brother told me that on this trip to the Xinguang Empire, we would also go to the Divine Light sect. You are from the Divine Light sect? As she spoke, Yunlu's eyes lit up. Brother? Hearing Yunlu's words, Chen Yan was taken aback. Only then did he realize that he had been a little too anxious earlier. When the girl said that she didn't have a teacher and didn't know what a master was, he didn't even ask her if she had any relatives by her side. At that moment, Chen Yan seemed to have lost his mind. Because, in his eyes, Yunlu was like a peerless treasure. He didn't want this treasure to be discovered by others even for a moment. Therefore, he immediately abducted him back. While Chen Yan was still in a daze, Yunlu had already raised her head to look at the sky behind Chen Yan and his son. She waved excitedly at the young man hovering in the air. Big brother, big brother. I'm here. Whoosh. In that instant, Chen Yan's expression changed drastically. At the same time, he broke out in a cold sweat. Is there someone behind him? He actually didn't notice. Chen Yan hurriedly got up from his seat and turned around. Only then did he realize that there was a figure in a snow-white robe descending from the sky. The figure was surrounded by a milky white inner yuan. It was a mid-primal core adept just like him. Most importantly, this white-robed, handsome young man with an otherworldly aura looked very young, at most 20 years old. You little girl, I thought something had happened. Zhou Donghuang descended from the sky. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of Yunlu and stroked her little head affectionately. Just now, when Yunlu had crushed the jade pendant, he had thought that his sister had met with some danger. When he came over, he realized that his sister was not in any danger. It was just that someone had taken a liking to his sister's talent and wanted to take her in as a disciple. He. Big brother, I was really scared just now. I thought this uncle was going to do something bad to me. Yunlu giggled and stuck out her tongue playfully. Hearing Yunlu's words, Chen Yan's mouth twitched involuntarily. This little girl, wasn't she thinking too much? He was going to do something bad to her. He, Chen Yan, was not a pedophile. It's good that you're alright. Zhou Donghuang smiled warmly. Big brother has settled the matter here. Next, I'll take you to the Divine Light sect. Sure, sure. Yunlu nodded excitedly. At the same time, she did not forget to look at Chen Yan and his son. She called out to them, "Hey! Uncle, little brother, aren't you from the Divine Light sect? Do you want to follow us to the Divine Light sect?" Yunlu knew that Zhou Donghuang had never been to the Divine Light sect before, so she greeted Chen Yan now to let him lead the way. Zhou Donghuang did not stop her. He was willing to come because he wanted the person in charge of the black market, the third elder of the Divine Light sect, Tuoku, to lead the way. If there was someone else to lead the way, there would be no need to look for Tuoku. No problem. Chen Yan agreed readily. He was now very curious about this pair of siblings in front of him. The elder brother looked to be at most 20 years old, but was already a mid-primal core adept. The younger sister, who was no more than 10 years old, was already an ultimate Khanate adept. Just who were they? Yong, are you staying at Yuntai Inn, or are you returning to the Divine Light sect with me? Chen Yan asked the youth beside him. Father, I'll go with you. The youth was Chen Yan's only son, Chen Yong. His gaze never left Yunlu, and his young face flushed from time to time. When Zhou Donghuang realized this, he was speechless. This kid, could it be that he had fallen for Xiaolu? Little brother, how should I address you? After the golden-crowned eagle, Little Gold, carried Zhou Donghuang and the others away from the capital of the Xinguang Empire, Chen Yan could not suppress his curiosity and asked Zhou Donghuang, who was sitting cross-legged nearby. Zhou Donghuang. Zhou Donghuang replied casually. Zhou. Zhou Donghuang? Just as Zhou Donghuang finished speaking, Chen Yan could not help but be stunned. After a while, he recovered and smiled bitterly as he shook his head. I should have known, on the planet of Ziyun, to have such a level of practice at such a young age. Besides you, who else could it be? You know me? Zhou Donghuang raised an eyebrow. Brother Donghuang. Chen Yan sighed. Nowadays, in our Divine Light sect, except for a few disciples who are more uninformed, basically everyone knows you, especially when you battled with the third elder and defeated him. When the news got back, it shocked everyone who heard it. As Chen Yan sighed, the shock in his eyes did not fade for a long time. Brother Donghuang. All of a sudden, Chen Yan seemed to have thought of something, and his face turned solemn. In the past, my father, the fifth elder, and the eighth elder went to your hometown and found out that the last time the 10th elder Lin Hantian was seen was there. Now, many people suspect that Lin Hantian has already died at your hands? Yes, he died at my hands. Zhou Donghuang spoke openly, his face calm and collected. You killed the 10th elder? Chen Yong's eyes widened as he stared at Zhou Donghuang as if he had seen a ghost. Although he was only 12 years old, he knew the 10th elder's position in the Valley of the Medicine Masters, and he also knew that Lin Hantian's grandfather was one of the 3 Golden Essence Elders of the Divine Light sect. However, a child was still a child. Although he was shocked, there was a hint of admiration in the depths of his eyes. What was an idol? This was an idol. Not only had he killed Lin Hantian, but he had also admitted to it so openly, completely disregarding the Golden Essence Adept of the Divine Light sect. As for Chen Yan, after being shocked by Zhou Donghuang's response for a moment, he drew in a long, cold breath. His eyes flashed a few times, and he could not help but laugh bitterly. Brother Donghuang, you've gotten yourself into big trouble. Do you know? Lin Hantian is not just the 10th elder of our Divine Light sect. His grandfather, Lin Ju, is one of the 3 Golden Essence Adepts of our Divine Light sect. I'm afraid Elder Lin Ju will not let this matter rest. Chen Yan had thought that after he said this, the young man in front of him would have some reservations. But he never expected that the young man would just reply with an indifferent and then take the initiative to ask, Lin Hantian is dead. Apart from Lin Ju, who else would not let the matter rest? As Zhou Donghuang asked this, a murderous glint flashed in the depths of his eyes. Before he left the Ziyun planet, he had to eliminate all threats to his family while they were still in the cradle. Whoever stuck their head out would die. Elder Lin Ju will definitely have the most intense reaction, and there are also his disciples. Chen Yan did not know why Zhou Donghuang had suddenly asked this, but he answered him anyway. Zhou Donghuang nodded. Brother Donghuang, why have you come to our divine light sect this time? Or are you just going for a stroll like you said? Chen Yan asked. I had originally only intended to see the leader of your divine light sect, but now, I have other things to do. Zhou Donghuang said lightly. It was only when they reached the divine light sect that Chen Yan knew what the young man in front of him wanted to do. Help me take care of Xiao Lu. As soon as they reached the divine light sect's divine light peak, Zhou Donghuang greeted Chen Yan and flew directly into the air, arriving in the sky above the divine light peak in the blink of an eye. Before Chen Yan, the 12th elder of the divine light sect, could react, Zhou Donghuang's voice, imbued with inner yuan, spread throughout the divine light sect. I was the one who killed Lin Hantian. Anyone who wants to avenge him, come out now. As soon as Zhou Donghuang's words reached Chen Yan's ears, Chen Yan's scalp went numb, and he felt a chill run up his spine from the soles of his feet to his head, causing him to tremble in fear. My God! Was this Zhou Donghuang crazy? This was the first time Chen Yan had seen such a fearless person, and it was a young man who looked at most 20 years of age. Did he not know that he was provoking the entire divine light sect? If it had been in private, even if Zhou Donghuang had admitted that he had killed Lin Hantian, Lin Ju and the divine light sect would not have dared to act rashly because of Zhou Donghuang's powerful background. But now, Zhou Donghuang's words had forced Lin Ju and the divine light sect into a dead end. End of this chapter. Chapter 192. Within the divine light sect, Zhou Donghuang's words had caused an unprecedented uproar. Under such circumstances, if the divine light sect did not do something, how could they establish themselves in Ziyun in the future? Today, if the divine light sect cowered and did not do anything, they would be laughed at by the other four major sects of Ziyun. This is Zhou Donghuang's voice. Although it had been 2 years, as one of the 3 golden essence elders of the divine light sect, the divine light sect's right-hand man, Xiaofan, could still recognize the owner of that voice. It was the young man he had met in the black market, Zhou Donghuang. His power, could it be that he is already so strong that he is not afraid of the 3 of us? Xiaofan's expression was solemn. This was the thought that came to his mind. 2 years ago, he had the power to defeat the 3rd elder of the divine light sect, Tuoku. After 2 years, his power was naturally stronger than before. Even if the other party had the power to defeat him now, he would not doubt it. However, defeating him alone and defeating the 3 golden essence elders of the divine light sect were 2 completely different concepts. With his power, standing in Zhou Donghuang's position, facing the 3 golden essence elders of the divine light sect, he would definitely not be able to last more than 3 breaths. Furthermore, now that he and his senior both had spirit weapons, once they joined forces, their power would be incomparable to before. Very quickly, the leader of the divine light sect, Tuojin, came to find them. With a serious expression, he said to Xiaofan, Uncle Xiaofan, he has come with ill intentions. I hope that you and Master will support the Grand Elder and protect the dignity of the divine light sect. Tuojin's master was the left guardian of the divine light sect, Xiaoyun. Xiaoyun was also Xiaofan's senior, one of the 3 golden essence elders of the divine light sect, and the strongest in the sect. Xiaoyun was already close to 280 years old, and if he did not enter the Dharma stage in the next 20 years, his life would come to an end. Because of this, in recent years, Xiaoyun rarely appeared in front of people, and he was elusive. However, today's matter concerned the dignity of the Divine Light sect, and even if Tuo Jin did not want to disturb his master's practice, he had no choice but to do so. Uncle Xian, you have seen Zhou Donghuang and even talked to him. That voice just now, was it him? Although Tuo Jin already had his own guesses, he still couldn't help but ask. Yes. Xian nodded. In the sky above Divine Light Peak. All the elders and disciples of the Primal Core stage and above who were in the Divine Light sect's encampment had all risen into the air and were standing in mid-air, looking at the figure in the distance, dressed in robes whiter than snow. It's him? He said he killed the 10th elder. Furthermore, he even said that he was waiting for the Divine Light sect to come out and avenge the 10th elder. A group of elders and disciples of the Divine Light sect stared at the young man in white in the distance in shock. Where does his confidence come from? This young man looks to be at most 20 years of age. He's already a mid-primal core adept? Could he be that Zhou Donghuang? Just as the group of elders and disciples of the Divine Light sect were deep in discussion, a voice suddenly rang out, interrupting their discussion. The Grand Elder is here. The Grand Elder of the Divine Light sect. Lin Ju. He was also one of the 3 Golden Essence Elders of the Divine Light sect. Most importantly, Lin Ju was the grandfather of the 10th Elder of the Divine Light sect, Lin Hantian. Lin Hantian was the only descendant of Lin Ju. Because of this, Lin Ju valued Lin Hantian, to a certain extent, even more than himself. It's you who killed my grandson, Lin Hantian? Lin Ju was an old man dressed in a long grey robe. His white hair was tied up behind him, and his figure was thin. As he stood there, he gave off a sage-like aura. However, now, as Lin Ju and Zhou Donghuang faced off, the look he gave Zhou Donghuang was unusually fierce, as if he was about to devour him. Master. Without waiting for Zhou Donghuang to respond, 2 figures emerged from the crowd and appeared behind Lin Ju. After bowing respectfully to Lin Ju, they stared at Zhou Donghuang fiercely. These were also 2 old men. At first glance, they did not look any younger than Lin Ju. They were both disciples of Lin Ju, and they were also late Primal Core elders of the Divine Light sect. Yes. Zhou Donghuang glanced at Lin Ju casually and acknowledged his words. Suddenly, Lin Ju's face turned red, and his grey robe fluttered despite the absence of wind. The golden inner yuan that surrounded his body shone even brighter and expanded. Young fellow, since you are so eager to die, I will grant you your wish. At this moment, Lin Ju had completely forgotten the advice of the guardian of the right, Xian, and completely cast aside the possibility of Zhou Donghuang's background. Now, he only had one thought in his mind: kill Zhou Donghuang and avenge his grandson, Lin Hantian. At the very most, after killing Zhou Donghuang, he would leave the Ziyun planet and go to another planet. He really did not believe that the powerful person behind Zhou Donghuang would be able to find him in the vast universe. Boom! Almost as soon as Lin Ju finished speaking, it was as if a clap of thunder had sounded out of nowhere, shaking the eardrums of the elders and disciples of the Divine Light sect who were watching from afar. It was the golden inner yuan that surrounded Lin Ju's body, and there was a deafening explosion. Then, like a bolt of golden lightning, he flew towards Zhou Donghuang. Master, I'm here to help you. You dare to kill Hantian, you will die today. As Lin Ju moved to attack Zhou Donghuang, his 2 disciples followed behind him like shadows, arrogant. At that moment, all the onlookers stared unblinkingly at Zhou Donghuang. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, it was not until Lin Ju had crossed more than half the distance and was not far from Zhou Donghuang that the expressionless Zhou Donghuang's lips finally curled into a smile. A mocking smile appeared on his face. Whoosh! 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 Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Zhou Donghuang's figure flashed, leaving an afterimage where he had been standing. At the same time, a series of afterimages appeared. Lin Ju's attack landed on Zhou Donghuang's afterimage, but it missed. Not good. Lin Ju had never imagined that Zhou Donghuang's speed would be so fast. After his attack missed, his expression changed drastically, and he hurriedly shouted, "Be careful." As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Ju hurriedly turned around, intending to save his two disciples. However, the moment he turned around, he clearly saw that there was someone behind him. Zhou Donghuang's afterimages flashed past his two disciples, and as he passed, their heads flew into the air. Zhou Donghuang's speed was far faster than the two of them, and as he passed by them, he struck out with his palm and chopped off their heads. As the heads of Lin Ju's two disciples flew into the air, they still maintained their expressions of righteous indignation. Evidently, they did not even have time to react before they were killed by Zhou Donghuang. Hiss! 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 Looking at the young man in white who had killed the two late primal core elders of the Divine Light sect, as if nothing had happened, the crowd of elders and disciples of the Divine Light sect all sucked in a breath of cold air, their eyes filled with fear and panic. This young man, who looked to be at most 20 years of age, actually had such great power. This level of power could only be achieved by an ultimate primal core adept, right? Father, isn't Big Brother Donghuang too powerful? On the back of the golden-crowned eagle, Little Gold, Chen Yong looked at the young man in white who stood there like a god, and the admiration in his eyes deepened. He recognized the two old men. They were the fourth and ninth elders of the Divine Light sect, both late primal core adepts. Among them, the fourth elder's power was even stronger than his grandfather, the fourth elder of the Divine Light sect, Tua Kong. Yong, now that Brother Donghuang is an enemy of the Divine Light sect, if you call him Big Brother Donghuang, be careful, lest others hear it and use it against you. Chen Yong said softly to his son, deeply afraid that his son's words would cause others to be unhappy. Didn't you go to the capital? Why are you back? At some point, an old monk in a silver robe, with a strong build and fierce eyes, had landed on Little Gold's back. Just as Little Gold realized that this stranger had landed on his back, he was furious and was about to explode. Grandfather! Father! The way Chen Yong and Chen Yen addressed the newcomer made him suppress his anger. Along the way, he had a good impression of the Chen father and son, and now he naturally had to give them face. The newcomer was the sixth elder of the Divine Light sect, Tua Kong. His expression was serious as he looked at the young man in white, who was constantly changing his body so that Lin Ju could not even touch him. This Zhou Donghuang's power is stronger than distinguished elders, he is toying with distinguished elder. After Lin Ju realized that his two disciples had been killed by Zhou Donghuang, he was furious and attacked Zhou Donghuang again. However, Zhou Donghuang's body moved so quickly that Lin Ju, a golden essence adept, could not even touch the hem of his clothes. At this moment, the inner yuan that emanated from Zhou Donghuang's body was no longer milky white, but bright silver. How did he do it? Isn't he a mid-primal core adept? At this moment, not only did Chen Yen notice the change in Zhou Donghuang's inner yuan, but the group of Divine Light sect elders and disciples who were watching also noticed the change in Zhou Donghuang's inner yuan. At the beginning, when Zhou Donghuang stood there and had not made a move, the inner yuan around him was clearly the milky white inner yuan of a mid-primal core adept. But now, after dodging Lin Ju's attack and killing Lin Ju's two disciples, the inner yuan around him had become bright silver. Now, because Zhou Donghuang's body was surrounded by too much silver inner yuan, it was as if his entire body was covered in a layer of silver flames. The inner yuan of a late primal core adept can be so thick. No wonder 4th elder and 8th elder were killed by him in a second. His inner yuan is at least 3 times thicker than that of an average silver essence adept. The group of Divine Light sect elders and disciples looked at Zhou Donghuang, stunned. They felt that Zhou Donghuang had completely overturned their understanding of silver essence adepts. End of this chapter. Chapter 193. Do you only know how to run? Lin Ju was exasperated because he couldn't keep up with his opponent's speed. Of course, he also knew in his heart that based on the speed that his opponent was displaying, if they were to fight head-on, he would most likely be no match for him. Speed also depended on true essence. The other party's speed was faster than his, which meant that the other party's true essence was thicker than his. Escape? Hearing Lin Ju's words, Zhou Donghuang immediately stopped in his tracks. Facing Lin Ju's ferocious attack, he casually blocked it. His expression was calm, and it was obvious that he did not feel any pressure. No matter how many times Lin Ju attacked, even using all his strength, Zhou Donghuang still managed to stop him. Lin Ju was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Where did this little bastard come from? He was clearly just a silver core cultivator, so why was his quintessential essence so powerful that it was even stronger than a golden core cultivator like him? If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, who would dare believe that a golden core cultivator would be helpless against a silver core cultivator? Some of the Divine Light sect disciples laughed bitterly. Where did this young man come from? In the Ziyun planet, there is such a monster? Many people were shocked by Zhou Donghuang's strength. From the beginning to the end, he has only been defending and dodging. Up until now, he has not made a move against the Supreme Elder. What is the meaning of this? Are you disdainful? If you didn't mention it, I wouldn't have noticed it. It seems like he really hasn't made a move against the Grand Elder. Soon, many people realized that Zhou Donghuang had not attacked Lin Ju. Father, big brother Donghuang, why isn't he making a move? Shen Yong could not help but ask Shen Yan. Before Shen Yan could speak, Tua Kong looked at Shen Yong in shock. You call this Zhou Donghuang big brother? You know him? Tua Kong was dumbfounded. His grandson knew Zhou Donghuang. Father, we have only just met brother Donghuang. Chen Yan smiled awkwardly. Speaking of which, I was the one who brought him to the Divine Light sect. Father, I have not introduced you, this is brother Donghuang's sister, Lady Yunlu. As for this flying beast, it's Little Gold, brother Donghuang's. Just as Chen Yan introduced Yunlu to Tua Kong and was about to introduce the golden-crowned eagle to Little Gold, he realized that he did not know how to introduce it. Brother. I'm young master's brother. Little Gold quickly helped Shen Yan. Tua Kong felt a little dizzy. Zhou Donghuang was brought to the Divine Light sect by his son. Wasn't this inviting a wolf into the house? Furthermore, Zhou Donghuang had only known his son for a short period of time, and he was already at ease leaving his sister by his son's side. Was he not afraid that the Divine Light sect would use his sister to threaten him? Thinking of this, Tua Kong glanced at the white figure in the distance and sighed in his heart, maybe. He's not worried that we would use his sister to threaten him. Zhou Donghuang. Just as Lin Ju's expression grew uglier and uglier, a loud voice rang out from within the Divine Light Peak, followed by the sound of 3 people breaking through the air. Everyone looked over and saw 2 old monks in golden robes flying side by side in the air. The leader of the Divine Light sect, Tua Jin, followed obediently behind them. It's the Right Guardian. The Right Guardian is here. The one beside the Right Protector, could it be the Left Protector? Oh my God. Left Protector, it seems like you haven't appeared in front of people for many years, right? The people who had arrived were the leader of the Divine Light sect, Tua Jin, the Right Guardian, Ci Xian, and the Left Guardian, Ci Yun. Ci Yun looked even older than Ci Xian. He was skinny and had a kind face. At first glance, he looked like an ordinary old monk who had 1 foot in the grave. However, the faint golden halo around his body revealed the fact that he was a powerful golden essence adept. Amidst the respectful cries of the Divine Light sect people, Ci Yun, Ci Xian, and Tua Jin finally arrived at the scene of the battle between Zhou Donghuang and Lin Ju. At this time, Lin Ju had already retreated to the side of Ci Yun and the other 2, greeting Ci Yun and Ci Xian. As for Tuo Jin, even though he was the leader, Lin Ju only nodded slightly at him. Instead, it was Tuo Jin who bowed respectfully to Lin Ju. The one who had just called out Zhou Donghuang's name was Ci Xian. Zhou Donghuang, I never thought that after 2 years, you would already have such power. Not a golden essence adept, but comparable to one. And not an ordinary golden essence adept. What a joke. An ordinary golden essence adept would be able to toy with a golden essence adept like Lin Ju? Since you are all here, all of you, come at me together. Zhou Donghuang ignored Ci Xian's words. His gaze first fell on Lin Ju, then on Ci Xian and Ci Yun. The moment he opened his mouth, he directly challenged 3 golden essence adepts. As soon as Zhou Donghuang's voice fell, the entire place fell into a dead silence. No one could have imagined that Zhou Donghuang would say such a thing. He actually wanted to fight 3 golden essence adepts of the Divine Light sect alone? In an instant, the entire place was in an uproar. Crazy. He's crazy. Does he really think that just because he is stronger than Sect Grand Elder, he can fight 3 golden essence adepts of the Divine Light sect alone? Not to mention that Ci Xian is already stronger than Sect Grand Elder. Ci Yun is even stronger than Ci Xian. I heard that he is not far from the Dharma stage. It was not only the elders and disciples of the Divine Light sect who were shocked by Zhou Donghuang's words. Even Tuo Kong and Chen Yan felt their scalps go numb. Was this Zhou Donghuang crazy? Although he could easily toy with Sect Grand Elder, the left guardian of the Divine Light sect, Ci Yun, could do the same. Furthermore, it was the old Ci Yun. The current Ci Yun was definitely much stronger. After all, Ci Yun was focused on breaking through to the Dharma stage. His improvement over the past few decades was definitely not something that Lin Ju could compare to. If only I could be like Big Brother Donghuang in the future, how great would that be? Chen Yong's eyes shone as he stared at the figure in the white robe. Now, he looked like a diehard fan looking at his idol. Dream on. Yun Lu scoffed at Chen Yong's words. Big Brother is unique, no one can compare to him. Little Gold, Brother Donghuang is getting ahead of himself. Ci Yun of the Divine Light sect is no weaker than him. Why don't you go and stop him? Chen Yan said to Little Gold. They are just 3 old fellows with 1 foot in the grave. How can they be a match for my young master? Little Gold scoffed at Chen Yan's words and responded with blind confidence in Zhou Donghuang. Chen Yan was speechless. It looked like it was not only Yun Lu, but even this flying beast had been completely brainwashed by Brother Donghuang. At the same time, hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, Lin Ju's face darkened. Ci Xian's face was filled with anger, and even the kind-looking Ci Yun's eyes flashed with a cold light. Arrogant little brat. Ci Yun flew out to face Zhou Donghuang. However, since you have asked for it, then we will grant you your wish, so that you will know that there is always someone better out there. The instant Ci Yun's words left his mouth, Ci Xian and Lin Ju simultaneously flew out and appeared beside Ci Yun, one on the left and one on the right. I will give you 3 breaths of time to prepare your strongest attack. Zhou Donghuang ignored Ci Yun's words and said lightly, otherwise, I am afraid that you will not be satisfied with your defeat. Arrogant. Now, even if Ci Yun had a good temper, he was enraged. The golden robe on his body swelled, and the golden inner yuan that was originally like stars in the sky suddenly expanded, as if it had turned into a golden flame. Ci Xian and Lin Ju were also enraged, and the golden inner yuan around them raged. At the same time, a 4-foot-long knife appeared in Ci Yun's hand, and an exquisite hill appeared in Ci Xian's hand. As for Lin Ju, he did not take out any weapons. To a primal core adept, other than a spirit weapon, any other weapon would only be a burden, and would not be as useful as an inner yuan weapon. The 3 elders are angry. How can they not be angry? This Zhou Donghuang is too arrogant. I only hope that he has the ability to be arrogant, otherwise, he may die here today. Most of the elders and disciples of the Divine Light sect did not think that Zhou Donghuang would be a match for the 3 Golden Essence elders of the Divine Light sect. On the planet of Ziyun, the 3 Golden Essence elders of the Divine Light sect were enough to defeat anyone. Attack! Following Xia Yun's command, not only did he move, the inner yuan of the 4-foot-long knife in his hand surged, transforming into a sharp blade that swept towards Zhou Donghuang. Even Xia Xian and Lin Ju followed closely. Buzz! 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 Xia Yun attacked, and the knife and sword followed him like a shadow, rushing towards Zhou Donghuang. Boom! Kaboom! Xia Xian attacked, and the exquisite hill in his hand flew up into the sky, descending towards Zhou Donghuang's head. Swoosh! The inner yuan in Lin Ju's hand condensed into a sword, and the tip of the sword pierced through the air, heading straight for Zhou Donghuang's brow, as if he wanted to kill Zhou Donghuang in one blow. The 3 Golden Essence elders of the Divine Light sect attacked together. Whether it was Xia Yun or Xia Xian, they both used spirit weapons. Although Lin Ju did not use a spirit weapon, when he joined forces with Xia Yun and Xia Xian, he was able to use 120% of his power, which was completely different from before. He had used his full power. Time seemed to have stopped at this moment. Everyone present stared unblinkingly at the scene in front of them, regardless of whether they could see the movements of the 3 Golden Essence adepts clearly or not. The former watched the technique, the latter watched the show. If he can block the combined attack of the 3 elders, as long as there is no Dharma adept on the planet of Ziyun, he will always be the top martial artist on the planet of Ziyun. Although he felt that the sudden thought in his mind was a little crazy, Chen Yan could not help but look forward to it. This was also what Chen Yan was thinking, and the others of the Divine Light sect did not know. Otherwise, their spittle would drown Chen Yan's saliva. You, Chen Yan, are the 12th elder of the Divine Light sect. Is it really okay for you to do this? Your father is the 6th elder of the Divine Light sect. Is it really okay for you to do this? And your son is also protected by the Divine Light sect. Is it really okay for you to do this? End of chapter. Chapter 194. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd. Facing the 3 Golden Essence elders of the Divine Light sect, a folding fan appeared in Zhou Donghuang's hand. It was the spirit weapon that he had just taken out from his space ring. Furthermore, it was an ultimate primal core spirit weapon. It was also the most powerful spirit weapon among all the primal core spirit weapons. Whoosh! Zhou Donghuang raised his hand and waved the folding fan in his hand. His speed was neither fast nor slow, and the elders and disciples of the Divine Light sect were speechless. Was this guy trying to use this to fight against the 3 Golden Essence elders of the Divine Light sect? Now, anyone with a discerning eye could see that the 3 Golden Essence elders of the Divine Light sect had no intention of holding back. After all, the Grand Elder of the Divine Light sect had just been defeated by the other party. Facing such a person, if they held back, it was very likely that they would give the other party an opportunity to take advantage of them, and they might even be doomed. However, in the next moment, they were so shocked that their eyes widened. They saw that when the folding fan in Zhou Donghuang's hand was fanned to the extreme, a vast, unparalleled silver inner yuan suddenly appeared. This silver inner yuan was majestic and vast, like silver seawater, stirring up huge waves as it swept towards the 3 Golden Essence elders of the Divine Light sect. Most importantly, this silver inner yuan not only looked vast and majestic, but the aura it emitted was also very condensed, and it did not seem like it was intentionally dispersed. An ordinary silver essence adept could disperse his inner yuan to this extent. However, after the inner yuan was dispersed to this extent, even an early primal core adept would be able to remain unscathed under the cover of this inner yuan. However, now that Zhou Donghuang was fanning, the density of the silver inner yuan that swept out was so high that it was no weaker than the inner yuan of a silver essence adept at its maximum. Whoosh! Whoosh! The silver inner yuan seemed to cover the sky as it swept out with awe-inspiring power, as if thousands of soldiers and horses were galloping past, menacing. On the other side, 3 golden inner yuan flew over like meteors, but they seemed to pale in comparison. 3 golden essence adepts. As the silver inner yuan rolled out and engulfed the 3 elders of the Divine Light sect, the corners of Zhou Donghuang's mouth curled up in a playful smile. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the 3 golden essence elders of the Divine Light sect finally met the silver inner yuan head-on. It was fine before they got close, but once they got close, their expressions changed drastically. How could he have so much true essence? Such dense spiritual essence is comparable to the spiritual essence of more than 6 silver core cultivators working together, right? Faced with 6 silver essence adepts, the 3 golden essence elders of the Divine Light sect were naturally not afraid. They could completely defeat them one by one. However, if a person possessed the true essence of 6 silver core cultivators, the combat power they could display was not something 6 silver core cultivators could compare to. In fact, even if 16 silver core cultivators joined forces, they would not be able to match up to this person's combat power. The next moment, the crowd of elders and disciples of the Divine Light sect saw a scene that they would never forget for the rest of their lives. Although the 3 golden essence elders of the Divine Light sect had their golden inner yuan bursting forth from head to toe, shining with a golden light, in front of the silver inner yuan that was like a rolling wave, they seemed very small. How dare a grain of rice compete with the moon? Zhou Donghuang's calm words reached the ears of everyone present as the silver inner yuan swept out to meet the 3 golden essence elders of the Divine Light sect. The sound was not loud, but it shocked everyone. Bang! The left guardian of the Divine Light sect, Xia Yun, was the first to bear the brunt of the attack, but in the face of the silver inner yuan, he was sent flying the moment he touched it. It was like a small soldier in light armor being sent flying by the charge of a heavily armored cavalry. Pfft! A mouthful of fresh blood spurted from Xia Yun's mouth as he was sent flying. It was dazzling and piercing to the eyes. Bang! Following closely, the right guardian of the Divine Light sect, Xi Xian, also followed in Xia Yun's footsteps. Not only was the exquisite hill spirit weapon that he had thrown out sent flying, but he himself was also sent flying. Wah! Blood splattered across the sky like red roses falling from the sky. Humph! Just as the people of the Divine Light sect thought that their Grand Elder would also follow in the footsteps of the left and right guardians, a cold snort rang out in their ears. In the next moment, many people saw it. The young man in white who was holding a folding fan suddenly shook the folding fan in his hand. In an instant, the silver inner yuan, which was like a raging wave, suddenly retracted and pulled, directly splitting into 2 parts. One part quickly circled to the back of the Grand Elder of the Divine Light sect, Lin Ju, and attacked him from the front and back. No! Lin Ju's old voice rang out in that instant, his voice filled with despair and indignation. And this was the last thing that Lin Ju would say in this world. Boom! Kaboom! The silver inner yuan collided with each other, and Lin Ju's entire body was compressed infinitely, finally exploding into a mist of blood, leaving only a space ring that slowly fell to the ground. The space stone that was used to make the space ring was a very special kind of ore. It was difficult for inner yuan to destroy it, and it could not even change its shape. However, it was not difficult for the samadhi fire, which was formed from the inner yuan, to melt it and shape it into various shapes, but it was also extremely difficult to destroy it. On the 22nd of July 1233 of the Ziyun era, Zhou Donghuang defeated the 2 golden essence elders of the Divine Light sect and killed the Grand Elder of the Divine Light sect, Lin Ju. After this battle, the whole place was dead silent. Gulp. Chen Yen, the 12th elder of the Divine Light sect who had invited the wolf into the house, swallowed hard, his eyes round and wide, almost popping out of his head in shock. He had originally thought that his idea just now was already considered crazy, thinking that as long as the young man in front of him could block the combined attack of the 3 golden essence elders of the Divine Light sect, he would be able to reach the top of the martial way of Ziyun. It was only at this moment that he realized he had underestimated the young man. The young man had only casually waved the fan in his hand and defeated the 2 Golden Essence Guardians of the Divine Light sect. If he had waved the fan again, he would have crushed the Grand Elder of the Divine Light sect. Absolutely crushed. Crushed as easily as stepping on an ant. Unsurprisingly, when the group of people from the Divine Light sect recovered from their shock, including the Divine Light sect leader Tua Jin, they could not help but gasp. When the group of people once again looked at the young man dressed in white, there was only fear in their eyes. There was no other emotion. What kind of demon is this? The late primal core stage is already so nature-defying. He has not even entered the Golden Essence stage, but he is already so nature-defying. When he enters the Golden Essence stage, I'm afraid even a Dharma adept will not be a match for him, right? On the planet of Ziyun, as long as there is no Dharma adept, I'm afraid he will be the top martial artist on the planet of Ziyun, enough to dominate everything. The scene that had just happened was destined to be unforgettable for the primal core adepts of the Divine Light sect. Is there anyone else who wants to avenge Lin Hantian? Zhou Donghuang stood in the air, the fan in his hand gently waving in front of him. His gaze swept across the people of the Divine Light sect. Of course, those who want to avenge the 3 people I just killed can also step forward and avenge them. Faced with Zhou Donghuang's question, the whole place was silent. Many people were secretly cursing Zhou Donghuang for asking the obvious. You can even crush the 3 strongest Golden Essence adepts of the Divine Light sect, who would dare to provoke you? Brother. Yun Lu's eyes shone. Although she had confidence in her brother, she did not expect him to be able to crush the 3 Golden Essence adepts so cleanly. Young master, has he become so strong? The golden-crowned eagle Little Gold swallowed hard. Based on his understanding of his young master, he would never do anything he was not confident of, so he was confident that his young master could handle the 3 Golden Essence adepts of the Divine Light sect. However, even though he could handle them, he did not expect his young master to have such terrifying power. He could see it. Just now, if his young master had not shown mercy, not only would the Grand Elder of the Divine Light sect have died, but the 2 Divine Light sect guardians would also have died. Thank you for showing mercy, sir. After the left guardian of the Divine Light sect, Xiaofan, caught his breath, even though he had lived for almost 300 years, when he looked at the young man again, he could not help but tremble in fear. At the same time, he hurriedly bowed to the young man to thank him. At the same time, the corner of his mouth turned up in a bitter smile. He, Xiaofan, had been a genius disciple of the Divine Light sect since he was young, but after practicing for almost 300 years, in the end, he could not even be compared to a young man in his early 20s. Someone like him, and he still wanted to enter the Dharma stage? What a fool's dream. What a fool's dream. And at this moment, Xiaofan's rock-solid heart of martial arts began to crack, and there was no possibility of him ever entering the Dharma stage. Thank you for showing mercy. After Xiaoxian regained his composure, he smiled bitterly and bowed to the young man to thank him. He had originally thought that he had overestimated the young man. He did not expect that not only had he not overestimated him, the young man was even scarier than he had imagined. Apart from the elders, the rest of you, please go back. At the same time, the leader of the Divine Light sect, Tua Jin, gave the order in a clear voice. As he spoke, the group of early primal core disciples of the Divine Light sect all left. As they left, they all heaved a sigh of relief. It was better not to face such a frightening person if they could avoid him. Although the young man had killed the Grand Elder of the Divine Light sect, Lin Ju, from the fact that he had shown mercy to the 2 guardians of the Divine Light sect, it was obvious that the young man was not as powerful as him. Thank you for showing mercy. After Xiaoxian regained his composure, he also smiled bitterly and bowed to the young man to thank him. He had originally thought that he had overestimated the young man. He did not expect that not only had he not overestimated him, the young man was even more frightening than he had imagined. Apart from the elders, the rest of you, please go back. At the same time, the leader of the Divine Light sect, Tua Jin, gave the order in a clear voice. As he spoke, the group of early primal core disciples of the Divine Light sect all left. As they left, they all heaved a sigh of relief. Such a frightening person, if they could avoid facing him, it was better not to. Although the other party had killed the Grand Elder of the Divine Light sect, Lin Ju, from the fact that the other party had shown mercy to the two Divine Light sect guardians, it was obvious that the other party had shown mercy. Baidu search for the UC Book League website to let you experience the latest and fastest chapters, all of which were updated in seconds. Chapter 195. As the leader of the Divine Light sect, Tua Jin was far more meticulous than the average person. If the young man in front of him had only come to kill those who wanted to avenge Lin Hantian, he would have killed Lin Ju long ago after he had killed the two disciples of Lin Ju. Why bother with Lin Ju? With his strength, killing Lin Ju would have been a piece of cake. However, he had waited until the other two Golden Essence Elders of the Divine Light sect had arrived before he had appeared, and he had wanted to fight 1 against 3, and in the end, he had only killed Lin Ju. What did this mean? It meant that the young man had intended to fight the 3 Golden Essence Elders of the Divine Light sect in front of them, completely to intimidate the Divine Light sect. The young man was definitely not just here to kill them. Sir, you have come to the Divine Light sect, not just to see who wants to avenge Lin Hantian, right? Hearing their leader's question to Zhou Donghuang, the group of senior members of the Divine Light sect present, including the left and right guardians of the Divine Light sect, all turned to look at Zhou Donghuang. Zhou Donghuang nodded lightly in response to Tua Jin's question. To see who wants to avenge Lin Hantian was just a spur-of-the-moment idea. I have come to the Divine Light sect today to discuss something with you, said Zhou Donghuang. Zhou Donghuang said directly. Dare I ask what it is? Seeing the strength of the young man in front of him, Tua Jin did not dare to put on airs, but instead lowered his stance and asked respectfully. The Divine Light sect will move away from this spirit stone lode. I want this place. Zhou Donghuang said lightly. The Xinguang Peak, where the Xinguang sect was based, was the location of the largest spirit stone vein on the planet of Ziyun. It was precisely because of this that the founder of the Xinguang sect had chosen to establish his sect here and establish his sect. This time, Zhou Donghuang had come to the Divine Light sect to ask for this Xinguang Peak. Before leaving the planet of Ziyun, he wanted to find the best place for his family to live. And Xinguang Peak was obviously the best place to do so. Following Zhou Donghuang's words, the entire place fell silent again. After a while, Tua Jin regained his senses and looked angrily at Zhou Donghuang. In a trembling voice, he asked, Sir, you must be joking. I, Zhou Donghuang, have no interest in joking with you. Zhou Donghuang spoke again, and his gaze sharpened in an instant. This was proof of his determination. In that instant, everyone, including Tua Jin, the leader of the Divine Light sect, and the 6th elder of the Divine Light sect, Tua Kong, and the 12th elder of the Divine Light sect, turned pale. The young man in front of them actually wanted the entire Divine Light sect to move away from the Divine Light Peak and give up the Divine Light Peak, where the Divine Light sect had been established for 1,000 years, to him? Luaha Galaxy. Planet Tianxian. Grandma, Father, there's no need to send us off. In the air above the Luo clan residence, a beautiful young woman in a long dress stood beside an ordinary-looking woman in black robes. She had a cold expression, and she was speaking to an old woman and a middle-aged man. The old woman was dressed in a loose green robe, and she was skinny. As she looked at the young lady, her eyes were filled with reluctance. Her mouth moved a few times as if she wanted to say something, but in the end, she did not. Qinghan, be careful out there. Don't be careless. The middle-aged man was dressed in a long silver robe. His face was like jade, and he was handsome and elegant. He was the current leader of the Luo family, Luo Wuchen. Grandma, father, once I enter the sect and familiarize myself with the environment, I will find some time to come back. Luo Qinghan nodded at the old woman and the middle-aged man, then turned to the woman beside her and said respectfully, "Senior, I can leave now." The woman nodded, then brought Luo Qinghan and the others behind her and flew out of the Luo family household. Luo Qinghan did not turn back. She was afraid that if she turned back and saw her grandma, she would regret her decision and stay. However, if she stayed on the Tianxian planet, her future training would be limited, and she would not be able to go further. A year ago, a group of adepts from a galaxy called the Hengliu Galaxy descended on the Tianxian planet. They claimed to be from the Hengliu Galaxy, and they represented the top sects of the Hengliu Galaxy in recruiting disciples. They were recruiting disciples for the top sects of the Hengliu Galaxy, and they had only one requirement: an ultimate primal core adept who was less than 30 years old, or a late primal core adept who was less than 25 years old. Of course, everything was voluntary. As long as one met the requirements, one could sign up voluntarily, and when it was time to leave, someone would personally come to take them away to the Hengliu Galaxy. The Tianxian planet is too small, and the Luoha Galaxy is too small. The Tianxian planet had not produced a primordial soul adept for 1,000 years, and the Tianxian planet was one of the most resource-rich planets in the Luoha Galaxy. If one did not leave the Luoha Galaxy, even if one was talented, it would be difficult to enter the primordial soul stage and become a primordial soul adept. Now, although there were primordial soul adepts in the Luoha Galaxy, they were extremely rare. And in the Hengliu Galaxy, ordinary primordial soul adepts were as common as dogs, and stronger primordial soul adepts were everywhere, and there were even quite a few top primordial soul adepts. In the top sects of the Hengliu Galaxy, ordinary primordial soul adepts could not even become elders. And in the Luoha Galaxy, even the most ordinary primordial soul adept was a leader, high above the rest of the galaxy. Precisely because of this, Luo Qinghan wanted to use this opportunity to leave the Luoha Galaxy while she was still young. The woman who had received Luo Qinghan and the others was only one of the group of adepts from the Hengliu Galaxy. There were many others who had also received many others. Yuan Zheng. After the woman had brought Luo Qinghan and the others to meet up with the other adepts from the Hengliu Galaxy, Luo Qinghan saw a familiar figure behind a middle-aged man dressed in a Taoist robe. The young leader of the Yunzhou sect, Yuan Zheng. Previously, her close friend, He Meng, had drugged her with the intention of selling her to this Yuan Zheng. Luckily, she had managed to escape, or else her entire life would have been ruined by this person. Therefore, now that she saw Yuan Zheng, Luo Qinghan's face was instantly covered with a layer of frost, and a murderous look flashed in the depths of her eyes. When Luo Qinghan saw Yuan Zheng also noticed her. His eyes lit up, and he took the initiative to approach her. "Miss Luo, are you also planning to go to the Hengliu Galaxy?" However, Luo Qinghan completely ignored Yuan Zheng. Although she was confident that her current abilities were no weaker than Yuan Zheng's, it was still extremely difficult for her to kill him. Furthermore, even if she had the ability to kill Yuan Zheng now, she could not do it. Once she did, the group of adepts from the Hengliu Galaxy would definitely see it as a provocation, and the consequences would be dire. The only thing she could do now was to ignore Yuan Zheng. In the future, when she became stronger and surpassed Yuan Zheng, it would not be too late to find a chance to take revenge. "Miss Luo, although there are not many top sects in the Hengliu Galaxy, there are still quite a few. Why don't we join the same sect? That way, we can also take care of each other. Isn't that perfect?" Seeing that Luo Qinghan was ignoring him, Yuan Zheng was not only not angry, but instead seemed to be used to it, smiling and licking his lips. Scram! Luo Qinghan frowned and glanced coldly at Yuan Zheng. She spat out a single word, her voice loud and loud, attracting the attention of many. No matter how thick-skinned Yuan Zheng was, he could not help but change his expression when faced with the mocking gazes of a group of people. He looked at Luo Qinghan with a cold look, making Luo Qinghan feel as if she was being stared at by a poisonous snake. "Since Miss Luo does not wish to be disturbed, I shall not disturb you." On the surface, Yuanzheng was still smiling, as if he could adapt to circumstances and did not take Luo Qinghan's overreaction to heart at all. Of course, this was only on the surface. In his heart, however, Yuanzheng was secretly cursing, "Luo Qinghan, you better pray that you do not fall into my hands, otherwise, I will definitely have you first before killing you. Let's go." Very quickly, the group of people met up and left the Tianxian planet, left the Luoha galaxy, and headed towards the Hengliu galaxy. Of course, when they left, they did not use their physical bodies to cross the galaxy. First, they used the teleporter to be transported to a planet on the edge of the Luoha galaxy, then boarded a spaceship that looked like a large ship. Using the spaceship as a means of transportation, they left the Luoha galaxy at an extremely fast speed and headed towards the Hengliu galaxy. Due to the limitations of the person who had set up the teleporter in the Luoha galaxy, it could only be used to transport between planets within the Luoha galaxy. If one wanted to leave the Luoha galaxy and head to another galaxy, they could only use the indiscriminate teleporter, but that way, no one would know which galaxy they would be transported to. The Tianxian planet, in the boundless galaxy, Luo Qinghan stood on the spaceship, looking at the planet on the edge of the Luoha galaxy that was gradually getting further and further away, finally turning into a small dot of light. Her eyes could not help but reveal a look of reluctance. In all her life, this was the first time she had left the Tianxian planet and left the Luoha galaxy for a long journey. As for the indiscriminate teleportation to the planet called Ziyun a few years ago, it was a complete accident, and to her, it could not be considered a long journey. Just as the spaceship left the Luoha galaxy, as Luo Qinghan looked away, she could not help but think of a figure. A handsome young man dressed in robes whiter than snow, with an extraordinary aura. The young man who had appeared in her dreams many times in the past, once again appeared in her mind without any warning. Based on his age and level of cultivation, even in the Ziyun planet, he was destined to be mediocre. Now, he probably has a wife and children, living an ordinary and satisfied life? Luo Qinghan thought to herself. Even she did not know why, every time she thought of this, she would feel an inexplicable sense of loss, and it was very strong. It was as if she had lost something very important. Taking a deep breath, Luo Qinghan tried to divert her attention. "I wonder, what kind of sect will I join when I reach the Hengliu galaxy?" Chapter 196. The Ziyun Grand Banquet was a grand banquet that had been passed down for 700 years. It was a grand banquet that belonged to the entire Ziyun planet, with the 5 main sects as the main characters. Every 20 years, the Ziyun Grand Banquet would be held by the 5 main sects in turn. 100 years was a cycle. In other words, every sect would hold a Ziyun Grand Banquet every 100 years. This year, in the year 1233 of the Ziyun era, it was the turn of the Xianin sect, one of the 5 main sects, to hold the Ziyun Grand Banquet. At that time, the leaders of the other 4 main sects would bring some disciples to the Xianin sect to participate in the Ziyun Grand Banquet. The date of the Ziyun Grand Banquet was set on the 10th of October, with the meaning of perfection. 700 years ago, the 5 main sects of the Ziyun planet, including the Xianin sect, had already found a place near the sect to hold the Ziyun Grand Banquet. However, even though the place was ready-made, it still had to be set up a year in advance, or else it would be too late. Since the end of last year, the Xianin sect leader had ordered to start setting up the venue for the Ziyun Grand Banquet. Thus, a group of Xianin sect elders and disciples had been busy since the end of last year. The Xianin sect's venue for the Ziyun Grand Banquet was a vast city. In the center of the city, there was a large empty space for the 5 main sects to use for the Ziyun Grand Banquet. Within the city, there was another ring of buildings. Without exception, these buildings were all inns that belonged to the Xianin sect. The area between the inns and the empty space in the center of the city was the city's free trade market. 10 days before the Ziyun Grand Banquet, this city would be open to the public. At that time, many people would come to trade for what they wanted before the Ziyun Grand Banquet began. The city where the Xianyin sect held the Ziyun Grand Banquet was named Xianyan City. The first word was taken from the Xianyin sect's name, and the second word was taken from the Ziyun Grand Banquet's name, Yan. This Xianyan city will open in 15 minutes. On the morning of the 30th of September 1233 of the Ziyun era, the sun had just risen from the east. Many people were already standing outside the 4 gates of Xianyan city, which was located between the Xianyin sect and the Xianyin kingdom. Besides the many people standing outside the 4 city gates, there were also many people standing in the air above the city walls. Most of them were standing or sitting on the backs of flying beasts, and there were also some primal core adepts standing in the air. However, before Xianyan city was officially opened, no one dared to fly into Xianyan city, not even a group of primal core adepts. This was because, at this moment, there were many people standing in the air above the surrounding walls of Xianyan city. These were the Xianyan sect elders and disciples who had been sent to maintain order in Xianyan city. There was no lack of mid-primal core adepts among them. With the deterrence of these elders and disciples of the Xianyin sect, no one dared to act recklessly. Old Manly, you're here too. If I had told you that you were coming, I would have come with you. This journey from the Thousand Autumns Empire has been really boring. In the void outside Xianyan city, an old man surrounded by pale white mist said to another old man standing in the air not far away. You didn't ask me. The latter shook his head. These 2 old men were both from the Thousand Autumns Empire. They were old acquaintances and were both early primal core adepts. The Thousand Autumns Empire was an empire under the Thousand Autumns sect, one of the 5 great sects of the planet of Ziyun. It was very far from the Xianyan Empire, and there was also the Shunguang Empire between them. These 2 old men had traveled thousands of miles just to join in on the excitement of the Feast of Ziyun. For the Feast of Ziyun, apart from the inner area, which could not be entered by people who were not members of the 5 main sects of the planet of Ziyun, the outer area did not restrict spectators. As such, every time the Feast of Ziyun was held, there would be crowds of people from all over the planet of Ziyun. In the planet of Ziyun, there were many people who were proud of being able to witness the Feast of Ziyun once in their lifetime. It's open. After a quarter of an hour, many people exclaimed as the 4 city gates of Xianyan city slowly opened. In the next moment, the group of people outside instantly flowed into Xianyan city like a river. From afar, it looked as if a group of ants had voluntarily sent themselves into the bloody mouth of a giant beast. The people who entered Xianyan city came from all over the planet of Ziyun. There were people from the 5 great empires, and there were also some outsiders. The so-called outsiders referred to those who were not in the 5 great empires or practicing in the 5 great sections. They could be non-affiliated practitioners, or they could have families or sects outside of the planet. For example, the 16 countries of the East Valley and the 14 countries of southern Jiang near the Shunguang Empire belonged to the outsiders. As for the people inside, they belonged to the category of people who were not part of the world. Generally speaking, outsiders generally had low levels of practice because of the lack of resources. However, there were a few exceptions, and these people were basically people who had great encounters and opportunities. Young Master, Xianyan City should be in front. In the south of Xianyan City, above the clouds, a huge black shadow broke through the clouds and swooped down. In the blink of an eye, it was near Xianyan City. This huge black shadow was actually a huge black eagle with a blazing golden crown on its head. It looked majestic and awe-inspiring. And on its back sat a handsome young man dressed in clothes whiter than snow. In front of the young man, a little girl of about 8 or 9 years old sat on his lap. She pointed at Xianyan City. Big brother, Xianyan City seems to have opened. Great, we don't have to wait anymore. The little girl's pink face was filled with excitement. The young man in white was Zhou Donghuang, who had come from the Xinguang Empire. Seeing his sister Yunlu so happy, the corners of his mouth turned up in a rare smile. "Little Gold, go and find an inn to stay in," Zhou Donghuang said to the golden-crowned eagle. "Yes, young master." Little Gold responded, and with a flap of his wings, he turned into a bolt of lightning and flew into Xianyan City. Xianyan City was much smaller than the capital of the Xinguang Empire, but from a bird's-eye view, it was filled with people. It was no less than the number of people shuttling through the capital of the Xinguang Empire. The inns in Xianyan City were under the control of the Xianin sect. Different rooms had different prices. The best courtyards did not even accept gold or silver, only spirit stones. 1 spirit stone per night. From the opening of Xianyan City until the end of the Feast of Ziyun, a total of 10 nights, would cost 10 spirit stones. It must be noted that even among the top 5 sects of Ziyun, only adepts who had attained the primal core stage were qualified to receive spirit stones from the sections. But early primal core adepts could only receive 1 spirit stone per month. Even for the middle primal core stage elders, although they received more spirit stones every month, they could only receive 3 spirit stones per month. Because of this, very few people could afford to stay in the best courtyards of the inns in Xianyan City. Even if they could afford it, few could bear to do so. Before the Feast of Ziyun began, besides the Xianin sect, the guests from the other 4 sects of Ziyun were all staying at the Xianin sect. Under such circumstances, the best courtyards of the inns in Xianyan City were usually left empty. 100 years ago, the inn in Xianyan City had a total of 5 best guest rooms, but they were all unused. This time, the people of the Xianin sect further reduced the number of best guest rooms in Xianyan City, leaving only 3. The elders and disciples of the Xianin sect who were in charge of the inns had thought that even though there were only 3 best courtyards left, no one would stay in them. However, they did not expect that on the first day of Xianyan City's opening, someone would already be staying in one of the best guest rooms. "Wow! Brother, this courtyard is huge." The people who stayed in the best courtyard of the inns in Xianyan City were Zhou Donghuang, Yunlu, and the golden-crowned eagle Little Gold. The entire courtyard was Little Gold's bed. As for Zhou Donghuang and Yunlu, they each had a room, and there were only 2 rooms in the courtyard. There was no third room even if they wanted to. 1 spirit stone per night in the courtyard, and there are only 2 rooms in it. The Xianin sect is really unscrupulous. Little Gold spoke in the human language and cursed. The fewer the rooms, the fewer the people staying in it. If it was a group of 4 people who could not sleep in the same room and wanted to stay in the best courtyard, unless they used the sky as their tent and the ground as their bed, or if they set up their own tents, they would have to ask the inns for 2 courtyards. This way, the inns could earn twice as much money. "Brother, are we going out now?" Yunlu looked at Zhou Donghuang expectantly. Zhou Donghuang nodded. He had come to Xianyan City so early because of the free trade market in Xianyan City. 10 days before the Feast of Ziyun, people from all over the Ziyun planet were doing business in the free trade market in Xianyan City. Zhou Donghuang had come early to see if there was anything he wanted that even the Divine Light sect did not have in Xianyan City's free trade market. Of course, this was only the secondary purpose of his visit. This time, his main purpose was to resolve the possible threat from Chendandan. After all, he would be leaving the Ziyun planet soon, and he could not leave behind such a threat to his family. He could have gone directly to the Xianin sect. However, after knowing that the Feast of Ziyun was about to begin, he was no longer in a hurry. This was because resolving Chendandan's problem at the Feast of Ziyun was far more effective than going directly to the Xianin sect. At that time, not only would the Xianin sect be able to see it, but the other 4 major sects of the Ziyun planet would also be able to see it. Furthermore, people from all over the Ziyun planet would also be able to see it. If he made a move at the Xianin sect, he would at most be able to intimidate the Xianin sect. However, if he made a move at the Feast of Ziyun, he would be able to intimidate the entire Ziyun planet. He would not have to worry about anyone daring to cause trouble for his family after he left the Ziyun planet. Chapter 197. The Feast of Ziyun was the highlight of the festivities for the people from all over the planet of Ziyun. They could not afford to miss it, so they had to come early. While they waited, the free market in Xianyan City became a place for them to kill time. Some people had rare treasures that they could sell to the people of Ziyun. If they met a suitable buyer, they could sell it for a good price. "Brother, does this look good?" "Brother, I want this." "Brother, this looks good too." In Xianyan City's free trade market, a little girl of about 8 or 9 years old walked past the various stalls. As long as she was interested in something, the young man in white behind her would not be stingy and buy it all for her. This scene caused many people to shake their heads. They felt that this young man was not a good brother and would spoil his little sister sooner or later. There were also many stall owners who could not wait for the little girl to take a liking to the things in their stalls. Along the way, the young man's extravagance attracted the attention of many people, but no one dared to do anything because there were people from the Xianin sect maintaining order in Xianyan City. Unless they left the city, no matter how jealous they were of the young man's wealth, they could not do anything about it. "Hey! Old man, your broken sword looks like an antique, and it's quite unique. How much is it?" A voice came from the front, causing Yunlu to stop and look curiously. Zhou Donghuang, who was following behind Yunlu, also stopped and looked in the direction of Yunlu's gaze. With just a glance, he saw an old man in a gray robe sitting cross-legged behind a stall, and a broken sword was placed horizontally on top of his stall. The broken sword was only 1 foot long, and the hilt was intact, but the blade was broken off. Although the broken sword had not rusted, it still looked ancient. Upon closer inspection, one could see that on the surface of the broken sword, there were many intricate patterns. 100 spirit stones. The old man had been resting with his eyes closed, but hearing the question, he suddenly opened his eyes and glanced at the middle-aged man in front of the stall. As soon as he said this, not only was the middle-aged man stunned, but even the group of people who had been paying attention were shocked. 100 spirit stones? Even the late primal core elders of the 5 great sects of Ziyun did not receive so many spirit stones from their sects in a year. Is this old man crazy? A broken sword like this for 100 spirit stones? He's going crazy thinking about spirit stones. As soon as the old man finished speaking, before the middle-aged man in front of the stall could say anything, many people surrounded him and attacked the old man. Humph. Facing the attacks of the crowd, the old man's eyes turned cold. Suddenly, a faint white halo appeared around his body and lifted him up into the air. He sat cross-legged in the air. Seeing this, the group of people who were still criticizing the old man shut their mouths one after another, not daring to say another word. Oh my God! This old man was actually a primal core adept. The middle-aged man in front of the stall had originally intended to mock the old man, but upon seeing the old man display the skills of a primal core adept, his expression changed, and he immediately shut his mouth tightly, not daring to utter another word. Who? Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the old man raised his hand, and a wisp of inner yuan flew out and picked up the broken sword from the stall. It floated in the air in front of him. I obtained this broken sword by chance, and it is not afraid of the true samadhi fire. As the old man spoke, his inner yuan condensed into the true samadhi fire, which wrapped around the broken sword. But as time passed, not only did the broken sword not show any signs of melting, but it even maintained its previous dark green color, showing no signs of being burned red. Not only is it not afraid of the true samadhi fire, even if I use the true samadhi fire to burn it continuously for 3 days and 3 nights, its blade and hilt would still be bone-chillingly cold, and would not be heated in the slightest. The old man continued. As soon as he finished speaking, the old man closed his eyes again and retracted the true samadhi fire. His whole body slowly descended to the ground, and he sat cross-legged again. And the broken sword also landed on top of the stall at the right time. Not afraid of the true Samadhi fire? Even a spirit weapon can be melted by the true Samadhi fire, right? What exactly is this broken sword? The spirit weapons used by Primal Core adepts are Primal Core spirit weapons, but even an ultimate Primal Core spirit weapon can be melted by the true Samadhi fire of an early Primal Core adept. Could this broken sword be a Dharma spirit weapon? Dharma spirit weapon? Dharma spirit weapons are spirit weapons used by Dharma adepts, and they require the true Samadhi fire of the Dharma adept's inner yuan to be able to melt them. The people present had come from all over the Ziyun planet, and there was no lack of knowledgeable people among them. From their conversations, it seemed like they suspected that the broken sword was a Dharma spirit weapon. If it is a Dharma spirit weapon, even if it is broken, 100 spirit stones is not considered expensive. That's true. Although many people suspected that the broken sword was a Dharma spirit weapon and felt that 100 spirit stones was not expensive, no one stepped forward and took out 100 spirit stones to buy the broken sword. Firstly, it was because no one present could produce that many spirit stones. Secondly, it was all just speculation. Even if there were people present who could produce that many spirit stones, they might not have the courage to do so. This sword, I want it. Just as more and more people gathered to watch, a young man dressed in robes whiter than snow appeared in front of the stall, attracting the attention of the crowd. The old man opened his eyes again and looked at Zhou Donghuang. 100 spirit stones. Zhou Donghuang did not speak. In front of the crowd, he took out 100 spirit stones from the space ring in his hand and casually sent them to the old man in the air. The milky white inner yuan was reflected in the eyes of the crowd, continuously attacking their pupils and their hearts. Just now, when this young man, who looked no more than 20 years old, had stood up and said that he wanted to buy the broken sword, the crowd had thought that he was joking. 100 spirit stones was not something that an impulsive young man could produce. However, when the young man really took out 100 spirit stones and sent them to the old man with the milky white inner yuan, the doubts in their hearts were instantly shattered. Mid-primal core adept. My God! If his age is really what he looks like, his martial arts talent can be said to be extraordinary. Under the shocked gazes of the crowd, the owner of the stall, the old man, was stunned for a moment before regaining his senses. He took the 100 spirit stones and kept them in his pocket. Thank you, my lord. The old man stood up and bowed to the young man to thank him. On the planet of Ziyun, where the strong were respected, the strong were respected. Even though the young man in front of him looked no more than 20 years old, the level of practice that he had displayed was enough to make the old man bow. Zhou Donghuang nodded slightly. With a wave of his hand, his inner yuan wrapped around the broken sword and brought it to his hand. Then, he stored it in his space ring. The broken sword, just as the few people present had guessed, was indeed a Dharma spirit weapon used by Dharma adepts. However, it was not an ordinary Dharma spirit weapon. It was an ultimate Dharma spirit weapon. Even though the inscriptions on it were incomplete, according to Zhou Donghuang's calculations, it was still enough to unleash the power of a mid-grade Dharma spirit weapon. When I enter the Dharma stage, I can use my inner yuan to condense the fourth true fire, reforge it, and rearrange the inscriptions, then, it will be able to unleash the power of an ultimate Dharma spirit weapon. Zhou Donghuang thought to himself. Under the silent gazes of the crowd, the young man dressed in white slowly walked away into the distance. The little girl beside him also skipped happily as she followed him. Looking at the backs of the young man and the little girl, many people felt a lingering fear in their hearts. He's actually a primal core adept. My God! Just now, when I saw him spending so much money to buy things for that little girl, I got greedy. If not for the fact that the Xianin sect was maintaining order in Xianyan City, I would have robbed him long ago. Me too. Now that I think about it, I really saved my life. Zhu Liansheng was a disciple of the Xianin sect. His level of practice was at the early primal core stage, but because he was not even 50 years old, his treatment in the Xianin sect was no less than that of an ordinary elder. Most importantly, his teacher was the second elder of the Xianin sect, a late primal core adept. His teacher was also one of the two golden essence elders of the Xianin sect. In the Xianin sect, Zhu Liancheng was like a member of the Crown Prince faction. The group of elders in the Xianin sect, whether they were of the mid or late primal core stage, did not dare to provoke him lightly. Dharma spirit weapon? A mid-primal core adept? Zhu Liancheng had seen everything that had just happened. His eyes flashed, and he silently followed the young man in white. Although he felt that his movements were silent, Zhou Donghuang had already noticed him. However, Zhou Donghuang did not care about him. Because he was lazy. And because he did not care. It was only when he saw the young man bring the little girl back to the inn that Zhu Liancheng stopped and turned to leave Xianyan City, returning to the Xianin sect. Teacher, I saw a young man in Xianyan City spend 100 spirit stones to buy a seemingly damaged Dharma spirit weapon. After Zhu Liancheng returned to the Xianin sect, he found his teacher, the second elder of the Xianin sect, Li Pingzhi. Dharma spirit weapon? Li Pingzhi was an old man in a loose black robe. His face was full of wrinkles, and his body exuded an aura of vicissitudes. It was obvious that he was not young anymore. However, after hearing Zhu Liancheng's words, his eyes lit up. Are you sure it was a Dharma spirit weapon? I'm not sure. Zhu Liancheng shook his head. However, the person who sold the broken sword was an early primal core adept. And the person who bought the broken sword was a mid-primal core adept. Furthermore, that mid-primal core adept looked to be at most 20 years old. His appearance does not match his true age. He must have taken good care of himself to look so young. End of this chapter. Chapter 198. 100 spirit stones, the mid-primal core adept gave it very readily. Zhu Liancheng said. 100 spirit stones? Li Pingzhi's eyes narrowed. Even as the second elder of the Xianin sect, he only received 96 spirit stones a year, not even 100. That mid-primal core adept had given someone 100 spirit stones in exchange for a suspected Dharma spirit weapon without hesitation. The early primal core adept burned that broken sword with his samadhi fire, but not only did it not melt, it did not even turn red. Zhu Liancheng continued, also, on that broken sword, there were some complicated patterns. This is very similar to the spirit weapon of the Xianin sect. That mid-primal core adept could not be a fool. Li Pingzhi thought for a moment, then guessed, that broken sword is definitely a Dharma spirit weapon. Go and buy that broken sword from him. He spent 100 spirit stones to buy it, so give him 110 spirit stones. I think he will give our Xianin sect some face. Li Pingzhi raised his hand, and 110 spirit stones flew out and floated in front of Zhu Liancheng. His words were full of confidence. The Xianin sect was one of the top 5 sects of the Ziyun planet. This was the source of his confidence. Yes, Master. Zhu Liancheng left the Xianin sect and went to Xianyan City to look for Master. As expected, Zhu Liancheng was rejected. Sir, my master is the second elder of the Xianin sect, Li Pingzhi. He is the one who wants to buy the broken sword you bought today. Zhu Liancheng looked at the young man in white and said in a low voice, his eyes threatening. Not for sale. Zhou Donghuang rejected calmly. My master is one of the 2 golden essence adepts of the Xianin sect. Zhu Liancheng's voice grew darker. Oh. Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed. Zhongya? You are quite knowledgeable, you even know my master's name. However, my grandmaster is Qi Ming, the junior of Grandmaster Zhongya. Zhu Liancheng said proudly. Zhu Liancheng originally thought that since he had brought up his master ancestor, the young man in front of him also knew that the Xianin sect's Jindan stage ancestor would definitely give him face. However, he didn't expect to be rejected. The other party did not give him any face at all. Your Excellency, are you not giving face to the two ancestors of our mysterious Yin sect? Are you not giving our Xianin sect any face? Zhu Liancheng's face was so gloomy that it seemed like it could drip water. Scram! Hearing the threat in Zhu Liancheng's words, Zhou Donghuang's face turned cold, and a murderous glint flashed in his eyes. Zhu Liancheng was so frightened that his expression changed, and he did not dare to say another word as he hurriedly turned and fled. If a mid-primal core adept really wanted to kill him, he would not even have the chance to escape. When he left, Zhu Liancheng didn't even dare to say anything harsh. Chen Dandan, Zhongya. We will meet again soon. After Zhu Liancheng left, Zhou Donghuang's lips curled into a mocking smile. Back then, when Zhongya had taken Chen Dandan away, he had reminded him that once Chen Dandan was taken away, it would be considered as forming karma with him. In the end, Zhongya had still taken Chen Dandan away. This time, he had come to the Feast of Ziyun precisely to settle this matter in front of all the people from all over the planet of Ziyun. Damn it! Damn it! That guy, he didn't give me any face at all. After leaving the inn, Zhu Liancheng left Xianyan City with an ugly expression and returned to the Xianin sect. The first thing he did was to look for his master. He didn't give me any face. Did you mention me? The second elder of the Xianin sect, Li Pingzhi, had an ugly expression on his face. I didn't just mention you, master, I also mentioned senior and senior granduncle, but he still didn't give me any face. Zhu Liancheng said angrily, I finally mentioned the Xianin sect, but not only did he not give me any face, he even told me to scram. Master, why don't you personally go and snatch that broken sword? If he doesn't know what's good for him, you can kill him. As he said this, Zhu Liancheng's eyes were full of murderous intent. In 10 days, it will be the Feast of Ziyun. Before we find out his background, we shouldn't act rashly. After all, the Xianin sect is the host of this Feast of Ziyun. Although Li Pingzhi was angry, he did not lose his rationality. I will go see your senior granduncle and ask him to send someone to keep an eye on that young man. If he still doesn't know what's good for him after the Feast of Ziyun is over, we will snatch it by force. As he said this, Li Pingzhi went to look for his master, one of the two golden essence elders of the Xianin sect, Qi Ming. Qi Ming was also the distinguished elder of the Xianin sect. There were two distinguished elders in the Xianin sect. They were the two golden essence elders of the Xianin sect, Qi Ming and Zhongya. Dharma spirit weapon? Qi Ming was an old man dressed in a long blue robe. He looked even older than Li Pingzhi because he was older than Li Pingzhi by a few decades. Master, Uncle Master does not have much time left. He probably has no hope of entering the Dharma stage. If that broken sword is indeed a Dharma spirit weapon, you might be able to use it to understand the mysteries of Dharma and successfully enter the Dharma stage in the next few decades, extending your lifespan by 300 years. Li Pingzhi said to Qi Ming with a passionate gaze. You have arranged this matter very well. After listening to Li Pingzhi's explanation of the entire situation and his final decision, Qi Ming nodded his head in satisfaction. However, there is one thing that you are wrong about. 3 years ago, after your Uncle Master accepted Chen Dandan as his disciple, his thoughts were clear and he is now half a step into the Dharma stage. If there are no accidents, he can definitely enter the Dharma stage and become a Dharma adept before he dies of old age. Qi Ming's gaze was passionate. As for the sect leader, I will inform him. However, I have to inform your martial uncle about this. If that broken sword is indeed a Dharma spirit weapon, he might be able to directly enter the Dharma stage and become a Dharma adept. Qi Ming immediately went to look for his senior, Zhongya. Zhongya was the Golden Essence adept who had come to the Valley of the Medicine Masters and saved Chen Dandan when Zhou Donghuang was about to kill her. 3 years had passed, and Zhongya looked even older than before. However, his eyes were bright and full of energy, and his aura had become stronger and stronger. He was completely different from how he was 3 years ago. If I have a Dharma spirit weapon, I will have a higher chance of entering the Dharma stage. After hearing about the Dharma spirit weapon, even though Zhongya's heart was as calm as still water, he could not help but feel excited. This matter, let's do as Li Pingji said. Junior, go and tell the sect leader that he must send 2 late primal core elders to keep an eye on that young man. If that young man leaves before the feast of Ziyun ends, follow him and kill him. Then, we can take the broken sword that seems to be a Dharma spirit weapon from him. Zhongya's eyes shone brightly, like 2 bright stars in the night sky, dazzling and eye-catching. Understood. Qi Ming replied and left. Congratulations, teacher. In the courtyard where Zhongya was, the girl who was trimming the flowers stopped what she was doing and congratulated Zhongya after Qi Ming left. This girl was the disciple that Zhongya had taken in 3 years ago, Chen Dandan. 3 years later, Chen Dandan's face was no longer childish. She was wearing a light blue dress, and her face was beautiful. Her figure was graceful, and her long legs were especially eye-catching. We are still not sure if it is a Dharma spirit weapon. It is too early to thank him. Zhongya shook his head. As he spoke, he looked at Chen Dandan. In 10 days, at the feast of Ziyun, our Xianin sect and the other 4 sects of Ziyun will send people from the early Khanate stage to the ultimate primal core stage to compete. There will be prizes for all 8 competitions, and the prizes will be given directly to the disciples of the sects who win. Among the early Khanate disciples of our Xianin sect, I am prepared to give you a spot. Half a year ago, Chen Dandan had already entered the Khanate stage and become a Khanate adept. Thank you, teacher. Chen Dandan's eyes lit up, and she thanked him profusely. At that time, you will have 4 chances to compete. As long as you can win 3 matches, after the feast of Ziyun ends, I will ask your head senior brother to accompany you to your hometown and help you kill your enemies. Zhongya said. Hearing this, Chen Dandan's eyes lit up even more. Her head senior brother, Zhongya's disciple, was the head elder of the Xianin sect. In the Xianin sect, he was the second most powerful late primal core adept, and his ability was second only to the leader of the Xianin sect. Prepare well. You still have 10 days left. As he finished speaking, Zhongya returned to his room to train. Chen Dandan was excited for a while before she calmed down. Her eyes flashed coldly. Zhou Donghuang, I hope you are still alive and well. After the feast of Ziyun ends, I will return to the 16 countries of the East Valley with head senior brother. I will bring your mother, Lin Lan, to you and torture her to death in front of you. Then, I will cut you into 1,000 pieces, one by one. Chen Dandan muttered to herself, as if she was full of confidence in her performance at the feast of Ziyun. In the next 10 days, the people from the 4 main sects of the Ziyun planet, including the Divine Light sect, arrived at the Xianin sect's base and temporarily stayed there. 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. The feast of Ziyun arrived as scheduled. In Xianyan City, the sky had not completely brightened yet, but a large group of people had already gathered in the sky above the vast open space in the center of the city. They had all come in advance to reserve seats. Most of the seats with the best view had already been occupied. Now, on the vast open space, a high platform had been erected. Around the high platform, in 5 directions, there were also rows of spectator stands. These spectator stands were prepared for the main characters of today's Feast of Ziyun, the 5 main sections. At the Feast of Ziyun, each of the 5 main sects will send out 19 people to spar with those of the same level of practice from the other 4 main sects. The winner of the spar will receive generous rewards from the 5 main sections. 19 people, among them, there are 3 early Khanate stage, 3 middle Khanate stage, 3 late Khanate stage, and 3 ultimate Khanate stage. 2 early primal core, 2 middle primal core, 2 late primal core, and 1 ultimate primal core. Chapter 199. The Feast of Ziyun was a stage for the 5 main sects of Ziyun to showcase their strength and heritage. The reason why they had invited guests from all over Ziyun was to let everyone in Ziyun know that as long as the 5 main sects were on Ziyun, they were the sky of Ziyun. They're here. About 2 hours after the sun rose, the group of people in the sky above Xianyan City, whether they were riding on flying beasts or flying primal core adepts, all parted to form a path. Those who did not have the ability to fly also crowded around the perimeter, their eyes fixed on the sky. There was a group of people riding the wind towards them. Upon closer inspection, one could see that these people were divided into 5 groups. That's the leader of the Xianin sect, Lu Yi. In the air, someone recognized one of the 2 people in the lead. He was dressed in a long green robe, and his forehead was full of wrinkles. His hair was white, and he was the leader of the Xianin sect, Lu Yi. The leader of the Xianin sect? Although he is walking side by side with that person, he seems to be intentionally lagging behind. For the leader of the Xianin sect to do this, he must be one of the 2 golden essence adepts of the Xianin sect. Soon, many people looked at the old man beside Lu Yi, the Xianin sect's sect leader. He looked even older, but his gaze was unusually sharp, and they vaguely guessed his identity. One of the 2 golden essence adepts of the Xianin sect will be 300 years old in a few days, and he is at a critical juncture of breaking through to the Dharma stage, so it is impossible for him to be here. This person must be Elder Qi Ming of the Xianin sect. When someone guessed which Jindan stage ancestor of the Xianin sect he was, many people's eyes suddenly became hot. Golden Essence Adept. He stood at the pinnacle of the martial way of Ziyun. If not for this occasion, they would never have the chance to meet such a person in their lifetime. The Golden Essence Adept of the Xianin sect, Qi Ming, is a godlike person. Although I am far away in the Thousand Autumn Empire, I still hear of him. 20 years ago, 3 late Primal Core itinerant adepts and 5 mid-Primal Core itinerant adepts joined forces, intending to steal the large amount of spirit stones produced in the spirit stone vein controlled by the Xianin sect. At that time, Qi Ming, who had just entered the ultimate Primal Core stage, single-handedly killed all 8 of them in a short span of 10 breaths. That was how he became famous. Although Senior Qi Ming is a Golden Core adept, he is not the strongest in the Xianin sect. The strongest person in the Xianin sect is still Senior Zhongya. Of course. Senior Zhongya is currently the most senior in the Xianin sect. 100 years ago, he had already entered the ultimate Primal Core stage and became a Golden Essence Adept. During the Feast of Ziyun, the 5 main sects of the Ziyun planet would also send out their Golden Essence Adepts to spar and exchange pointers with each other, displaying the supreme power of their respective sections. It was obvious that the Xianin sect's Golden Elixir cultivator, Qi Ming, would be participating in today's Feast of Ziyun. Among those people, most of them are Buddhist adepts. They should be from the Divine Light sect. Very quickly, the gazes of the crowd landed on another group of people. Among these people, most of them were not only bald, but they were also dressed in cassocks. Impressively, they were all Buddhist adepts. The foundation of the Divine Light sect is the strongest among the 5 main sects of the Ziyun planet. The best spirit stone vein in the Ziyun planet is occupied by the Divine Light sect. In the history of the Ziyun planet, there have been a total of 2 Dharma adepts. The first Dharma adept came from the Tianwu sect. As for the second Dharma adept, which is also the one who appeared recently, he came from the Divine Light sect. The Dharma adept from the Tianwu sect left the Ziyun planet as soon as he entered the Dharma stage, and did not fight for any benefits for the Tianwu sect, unlike the Dharma adept from the Divine Light sect, who remained on the Ziyun planet. Although he did not make any moves, the Divine Light sect that he led was publicly recognized as the top sect of the Ziyun planet. After confirming that the people in front of them were from the Divine Light sect, more people began to focus their attention on the 2 people leading the group. Among the 2 people leading the Divine Light sect, that middle-aged monk should be the current leader of the Divine Light sect, Tuo Jin. Although Tuo Jin is young, just over 100 years old, he is already a late Primal Core adept, and his strength is second only to the 3 Golden Essence Elders of the Divine Light sect. Compared to the Dharma adept of the Divine Light sect, Lord Tuojin entered the late primal core stage earlier. Many people say that he will be the next Dharma adept of the Ziyun planet. The old monk in the golden cassock next to Lord Tuojin should be one of the two guardians of the Divine Light sect. I wonder if it is Guardian Xia Yun or Guardian Xia Xian. It must be Guardian Xia Xian. Guardian Xia Yun is elusive, and he is nearing the end of his 300-year lifespan. It is impossible for him to participate in the Feast of Ziyun. 20 years ago, Guardian Xia Xian participated in the Feast of Ziyun for the Divine Light sect. This time, it will not be an exception. Guardian Xia Xian fought with Elder Qi Ming of the Xianin sect 20 years ago and defeated him. Guardian Xia Xian entered the ultimate primal core stage a long time ago, whereas Elder Qi Ming only entered the ultimate primal core stage 20 years ago. Naturally, he is more skilled. After paying attention to the group of people from the Divine Light sect, the crowd's gaze fell on the other three groups of people. The people from the Qianqiu sect. The people from the Tianwu sect. The people from the Shueisha sect. Other than the Xianin sect, who was the host and had more people, there were only 20 people from the other four major sections. At least, only 20 people had shown themselves. Of course, among the crowd of onlookers, there would definitely be elders and disciples of the major sects hidden everywhere. It was just that they did not walk together with the main characters of the major sects today. Other than the people from the Xianin sect, there were now 20 people from the four major sections. Other than the leaders of their respective sects, the remaining 19 people were the ones who were going to compete today. A group of Khanate adepts were also led by the primal core adepts of the various sections. They landed in the spectator seats in the center of Xianyan City and sat down in a few rows. The people from each sect took up a section of the spectator seats. In the first row, there were only 2 people. The leaders of the various sects, as well as the Golden Essence adepts of the various sects who had come today. Everyone is here, the Feast of Ziyun is about to begin. The eyes of the onlookers from all over the planet of Ziyun lit up, their faces full of anticipation. These people had traveled thousands of miles to come to Xianyan City just to witness the entire process of this Feast of Ziyun. This would not only be a feast in their lives, but it would also be something they could brag about for the rest of their lives. The 5 leaders of the 5 major sects of the planet of Ziyun are all gathered together, and there are also 5 Golden Essence adepts who stand at the pinnacle of the planet of Ziyun. Such a scene can only be seen at the Feast of Ziyun. Today, I have seen the leaders of the 5 major sects of the planet of Ziyun, as well as 5 Golden Essence adepts. I have no regrets in this life. 5 Golden Essence adepts, almost half of the Golden Essence adepts of the planet of Ziyun are present. Under the expectant gazes of the crowd, the Xianin sect, as the host, finally made a move. Everyone, I am the leader of the Xianin sect, Lu Yi. The leader of the Xianin sect, Lu Yi, rose from his seat in the spectator seats, and in the blink of an eye, he was in the air above the high platform. His body spun 360 degrees in the air, and his gaze swept across the surrounding onlookers. Now, I announce that, the Feast of Ziyun officially begins. When the Feast of Ziyun began. In an inn in Xianyan City, a huge black eagle soared into the sky. On its back sat a delicate little girl, and behind the little girl stood a young man. The young man was dressed in a clean white robe, and he stood with his hands behind his back. His gaze was calm and focused in front of him, full of disdain. In that instant, the young man's tall figure seemed to be able to support the heavens and the earth. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, the giant eagle seemed to transform into a bolt of lightning and flew into the clouds. Stop! As the young man spoke, the giant eagle stopped, and the little girl on the eagle's back turned to look at the young man with a puzzled expression. Brother, aren't we going to watch the Feast of Ziyun now? Xiao Lu, wait here with little gold for a while, I'll go settle some small matters. Zhou Donghuang patted Yun Lu's little head affectionately, and with a slight smile, his figure flickered, and in the blink of an eye, he disappeared without a trace. Whoosh! In the sky above the heads of the two sneaky figures that were about to pass through the clouds, a white figure appeared, causing the two sneaky figures to hurriedly stop in their tracks. You two have been watching me for a whole 10 days. Zhou Donghuang looked down at the two old men, his white robe fluttering in the wind. Standing in the air with his hands behind his back, he was like a superior looking down on two inferior people. You discovered it long ago? As the two old men's expressions changed slightly, they also noticed the silver halo surrounding Zhou Donghuang's body. You've broken through? In their eyes, the young man in front of them was only a mid-primal core adept. But now it seemed that he was no longer a mid-primal core adept, but a late primal core adept, catching up to them in terms of level of practice. And just as the two old men's expressions changed, the silver inner yuan around Zhou Donghuang's body suddenly exploded, and in an instant, it was like a blazing flame was burning. The vast and majestic inner yuan rushed towards them, suffocating the two old men. What a thick inner yuan! We're both silver essence adepts, but why does his inner yuan feel like it's at least twice as thick as mine? Feeling the inner yuan of the young man in front of them, the two old men's expressions changed again. Boom! The silver flames on the surface of Zhou Donghuang's body suddenly exploded, and at a speed that the two old men could not even sense, he closed in on them, his hand rising and falling. Whoosh! As his palm swept past, there was a burst of silver light, and the head of one of the old men flew directly into the air. Fresh blood splattered everywhere, smearing the face of the other old man. At this time, Zhou Donghuang had already moved to the other side, his back facing the surviving old man, whose face was pale with fright, and whose entire body was trembling violently. Tell Zhongye that I, Zhou Donghuang, will wait for him at the feast of Ziyun to settle the karma. End of this chapter. Chapter 200. Xianyan City. At the venue of the Feast of Ziyun. Bang! A soft sound rang out. It was a young man who had raised his hand and landed a palm on another young man, knocking him off the high platform and claiming victory in this match. The young man struck out with his palm, releasing a foot of qi. As for the other young man, when he landed awkwardly, a similar foot of qi swept out from his feet. Obviously, both of them were early Khanate adepts. And now, the Feast of Ziyun had begun. The early Khanate adepts from the 5 major sects of Ziyun were divided into 3 groups of 5 and would begin the first round of sparring. Number 2. Dressed in a long green dress, a young lady with delicate features sat in the second row of the audience. She looked at the jade slip in her hand, her eyes shining. The first round of sparring is about to end. The lady looked at the white-robed Buddhist adept on the high platform, and her heart skipped a beat. As long as the two from the Tianwu sect and the Xinguang sect decide the winner, it will be the turn of the second group, including me, to fight. Master said that if I win 3 rounds, he will let senior brother follow me back to the 16 countries of the East Valley to help me take revenge. But I want to win 4 rounds. The lady was Chen Dandan. Her eyes shone, and her face was full of confidence. The first round of sparring at the Feast of Ziyun were 15 early Khanate adepts, 3 from each sect. The 15 would draw lots and be divided into 3 groups, and the strongest person in each group would be decided. Then, the 3 who emerged from the 3 groups would receive generous rewards from the 5 major sects of Ziyun. Now, the strongest person in the first group was about to be decided. Senior, do you want to rest? The white-robed Buddhist adept was an early Khanate adept from the Xinguang sect. He looked to be about 20 years old, and when he smiled at the young man on the high platform, 2 dimples appeared on his cheeks. It didn't take much, it won't affect me. The young man, who was also the first early Khanate adept from the Tianwu sect, shook his head lightly. In that case, senior, you go first. The Xinguang sect disciple put his palms together and said politely. All right. The young man did not stand on ceremony. His entire body was covered with a layer of inner qi, and it was as if his entire body had turned into a green flame, pouncing on the Divine Light sect disciple as if to swallow him up. Faced with the aggressive young man, the disciples of the Divine Light sect also had serious expressions. As the young man advanced, they retreated and defended themselves. After a while, he finally regained the initiative. Bang! After 10 moves, the disciple of the Divine Light sect casually threw a punch, and his inner chi exploded, mercilessly knocking the young man, who had already won 3 rounds, off the stage. Victory! The disciples of the Divine Light sect had come out on top at this year's Feast of Ziyun. He is indeed a disciple of the Divine Light sect. Although he is only an early Khanate stage adept, the power he has displayed is so strong that in the entire Ziyun planet, there are only a handful of early Khanate stage adepts who can compare to him. Most mid-Khanate stage adepts would have to expend some effort to defeat him, even if they could. The performance of the Divine Light sect disciples made the onlookers gasp in amazement. The Divine Light sect was indeed the top sect of the Ziyun planet in the past. Even a small early Khanate stage disciple from the sect was so amazing. Sect leader Tuo Jin, Chao Gang is already the strongest early Khanate stage disciple in our Tianwu sect. Your Divine Light sect disciples are amazing. The leader of the Tianwu sect, a burly middle-aged man dressed in loose training garb, looked at the leader of the Divine Light sect, Tuo Jin, from afar and exclaimed in admiration. Sect leader Yi, you flatter me. Tuo Jin smiled modestly. The leader of the Tianwu sect was called Yiwen. He looked very rough, but his name was very genteel, and he sounded more like a scholar than a warrior. After the Divine Light sect disciple won and left the stage, the leader of the Xianin sect, Lu Yi, sat among the audience and said in a clear voice, "Now, the disciples of the various sects who have lot number 2 can go up to the stage." Whoosh! Before Lu Yi could finish speaking, a green figure in the audience behind him had already left the audience seats like a ghost, and in the blink of an eye, she was on the stage. It was Chen Dandan. The goal that Chen Dandan's teacher, Zhongya, had set for her was to win 3 rounds, so she was the first to leave the stage. Even though she was confident that she was not inferior to the early Khanate stage disciples of the other 4 sects, she was still the first to ascend the stage. A female disciple? The Xianin sect is letting a female disciple go up? At the same time that Chen Dandan appeared, not only did the audience feel that the Xianin sect was being reckless, but the people of the other 4 sects also felt that the Xianin sect was being too reckless. Female adepts, because their bodies were innately weaker than male adepts, were usually at a disadvantage when fighting adepts of the same level of practice. Sect leader Lu, is the Xianin sect giving benefits to the disciples of the other 4 sects? You actually sent a female disciple. The leader of the Xuesha sect, a middle-aged man in a blood-red robe, looked at the leader of the Xianin sect, Lu Yi, and shook his head as he grinned. Sect leader Hu, don't underestimate this female disciple of the Xianin sect. Lu Yi smiled calmly. Why? Could it be that this female disciple of the Xianin sect has some special abilities? The face of the leader of the Xuesha sect, Hu Qingshua, was full of disdain. After Chen Dandan went up, the early Khanate stage disciples of the other 4 sects who had gotten lot number 2 did not move. All of them felt that it would be unfair for them to fight a female. No one was willing to stand out. They were all afraid of being laughed at. Her name is Chen Dandan. Before Lu Yi could respond to Hu Qingshua, the old man sitting beside Lu Yi, the Xianin sect supreme elder Qi Ming, glanced at Hu Qingshua and said, "She is the disciple that my senior brother took in 3 years ago." As Qi Ming finished speaking, the entire place fell into a dead silence. Who was Qi Ming? The Grand Elder of the Xianin sect. One of the 2 Golden Essence Elders of the Xianin sect. In the Xianin sect, the only person who could be called senior by him was the other Golden Essence Elder of the Xianin sect, the strongest in the Xianin sect, Zhongya. She is actually senior Zhongya's disciple? The disdain on the face of the leader of the Xuesha sect, Hu Qingshua, completely disappeared. Instead, it was replaced by shock. He had never imagined that this female disciple of the Xianin sect would be a disciple of the Xianin sect's patriarch, Zhongya. Whoosh! Before many people could recover from their shock, a figure had already flown out from the spectator seats where the thousand-year sect members were seated and directly climbed onto the high platform. It was a young man dressed in embroidered robes. He was also the early Khanate stage adept from the thousand-year sect who had drawn lot number 2. Damn it! Someone beat me to it. This fellow, isn't he too fast? I missed him. When the thousand-year sect disciple climbed onto the high platform and faced Chendandan, the early Khanate stage disciples from the other 3 sects who had gotten lot number 2 all beat their chests and stamped their feet, feeling that it was a great pity. They had previously felt that attacking Chendandan would be a loss of face. But now, they felt that this was their chance to make a name for themselves in one battle. In their eyes, Chendandan was no longer just a Xianin sect disciple. She was the disciple of the Xianin sect's golden essence adept, Patriarch Zhongya. As long as they defeated Chendandan, they could brag everywhere in the future that they had once defeated a disciple of the Xianin sect's golden essence adept. This would be enough for them to brag about for the rest of their lives. Junior Sister Dandan, I am Tan from the Thousand-Year Sect. Just as the Thousand-Year Sect disciple was about to introduce himself, Chendandan interrupted him again and said calmly, I have no interest in knowing the name of a defeated opponent. The moment Chendandan said this, the Thousand-Year Sect disciple's expression changed drastically in anger. As for the others, they were also in an uproar as they felt the strong confidence revealed in Chendandan's words. Bang! Just as Chendandan finished speaking, the chi under her feet had already exploded. Her entire body pushed off the ground and flew out like an arrow that had been released from a bow, shooting towards the Thousand-Year Sect disciple. Humph! After the Thousand-Year Sect disciple came back to his senses, his expression was very ugly. He wanted to regain his dignity through his limbs, but he realized that Chendandan was not shooting randomly. Her ability was indeed above his. Moreover, Chendandan had the upper hand by striking first. After 3 moves, the Thousand-Year Sect disciple was struck off the high platform by Chendandan's palm blade. At this time, the other 3 disciples from the 3 major sects who had drawn lot number 2 also had solemn expressions. They no longer dared to underestimate Chendandan just because she was a woman. Bang! Crack! Boom! Under the shocked gazes of the spectators, Chendandan only used 2 moves to defeat one of the 3 remaining people. As for the other 2, one used 5 moves, and the other used 6 moves. Chendandan successfully reached the top of this year's Feast of Ziyun's second group of early Khanate adepts. Impressive! Impressive! As expected of the disciple of a golden essence adept. Women are not inferior to men. After Chendandan reached the top, the crowd unsurprisingly burst into exclamations. The crowd was not stingy with their words of praise. Even some of the higher-ups of the 4 major sects began to praise Chendandan, and at the same time, they flattered the Xianin sect's golden essence adept, Zhongya. Senior Zhongya is not only powerful, but the way he teaches his disciples is equally amazing. At this moment, as the main character, Chendandan stood on the high platform, listening to the praises and flattery coming from all around her. She raised her head proudly like a proud peacock. At the same time, in Chendandan's mind, the figure of a youth dressed in snow-white clothes flashed without any warning. It's a pity that Zhou Donghuang won't be able to see this. Zhou Donghuang, I hope you're not dead yet. After the Feast of Ziyun ends, I will bring Big Senior Brother back to the 16 countries of the East Valley. I want you to witness your mother being tortured to death by me, and then I will cut you into 1,000 pieces. Just as Chendandan regained her senses and was about to step off the stage. In 3 years. Chendandan, this is how much progress you've made? A sudden, calm voice floated down from the sky, as if it contained some kind of magical power, suppressing all the noise in the crowd. End of this chapter. Chapter 201. At the Feast of Ziyun. In the air above the stage, a young man stood with his hands behind his back. Dressed in a robe as white as snow, he was handsome and had an extraordinary aura. His gaze was sharp as he looked down at Chindandan, who was about to step down from the stage. At that moment, his voice, which seemed to contain magic power, suppressed all the noise in the area and successfully attracted everyone's attention. In 3 years. Chindandan, this is how much progress you've made? The crowd turned to look, and when they saw the young man's face clearly, other than the Divine Light Sect's right-hand man, Ci Xian, Lord Tuajin, and a few other Primal Core adepts, everyone else's eyes widened. Primal Core adept? Look at the milky white inner yuan around him, he's obviously a mid-Primal Core adept. This young man who looked like a mid-Primal Core adept looked to be about 20 years old. No matter how good he was at maintaining his youthful looks, he could not be that old. Who is he? I don't know. Looking at his posture, he doesn't seem friendly, and he seems to be targeting Chindandan. He's just a mid-Primal Core adept, and he dares to offend Chindandan? Chindandan is a disciple of the Xianin sect's Golden Essence adept, Zhongya, and there are so many senior members of the Xianin sect here. Everyone's gazes, including those from the Xianin sect, subconsciously fell on Chindandan at this moment. Zhou Donghuang? Chindandan had never imagined that the person she had been praying for to be alive would actually appear in front of her in the next moment. Not only was he alive, but he had also entered the mid-Primal Core stage and become a mid-Primal Core adept. In 3 years. The childishness on his face had faded, and he looked much more mature. Most importantly, he had further widened the gap between them. Moreover, this gap made her feel suffocated and hopeless. In 3 years, she had broken through from level 4 of Qi gathering to become an early Khanate adept. In the same period of time, Zhou Donghuang had broken through from the early Khanate stage to the mid-Primal Core adept, leaving her in the dust. A 22-year-old mid-Primal Core adept? Others might think that the young man in front of her looked like he was in his 20s because he was good at maintaining his youthful looks, but Chindandan knew his age very well. He was only 22 this year. How is this possible? Chindandan couldn't believe it. She even wondered if she was dreaming. However, after a moment, she confirmed that she was not dreaming. The young man before her had indeed become a mid-Primal Core adept at the age of 22. Something's wrong. Suddenly, an idea flashed in Chindandan's mind, as if she had suddenly thought of something, and her eyes lit up. So what if he is a mid-Primal Core adept now? Could he be teacher's match? Among the higher-ups of our Xianin sect, there are many who are capable of killing him. As she thought of this, the shock on Chindandan's face disappeared and was replaced by a cold look. She stared at Zhou Donghuang with a murderous look in her eyes. Zhou Donghuang, I really did not expect that you would actually enter the mid-Primal Core stage and become a mid-Primal Core adept. Chindandan raised her head and looked at the young man. I have to say, this is really surprising. But that's all there is to it. Today, since you are here, don't even think of leaving. As soon as she finished speaking, Chindandan, who was deeply afraid that the young man would escape, immediately looked towards the audience where the higher-ups of the Xianin sect were. Uncle Master, sect leader, senior brother, this person is my mortal enemy. 3 years ago, he spoke rudely to teacher and even threatened to take revenge on the Xianin sect. As soon as Chindandan said this, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The Xianin sect's sect Grand Elder Qi Ming, Xianin sect leader Lu Yi, and the Xianin sect head elder Bai Shiteng all moved, surrounding Zhou Donghuang in a triangular formation. Whoosh! 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 After Qi Ming and the other two moved, the remaining Primal Core adepts of the Xianin sect also moved, surrounding the perimeter and staring at Zhou Donghuang fiercely. You spoke rudely to my senior brother? And even threatened to take revenge on the Xianin sect? Qi Ming's gaze was like lightning as he stared at the young man in white. His face was expressionless, but there was a hint of coldness in his eyes. Wow! At the same time, the surrounding crowd was in an uproar. Chen Danden's words had shocked them as well. This early primal core adept had actually dared to speak rudely to the most powerful adept of the Xianin sect, Zhongya, and even threatened to take revenge on the Xianin sect? Was he crazy? But, since he spoke rudely to Senior Zhongya 3 years ago, why didn't Senior Zhongya kill him then? I find it strange too. Logically speaking, with Senior Zhongya's power, killing a mid-primal core adept should be as easy as killing a chicken. Some people questioned this. 3 years ago, Master did not want to kill him. As Qi Ming and the rest looked at her in confusion, Chen Danden gritted her teeth and said, "At that time, Master hoped that I could kill him with my own power. Because, he is my enemy. But, what I did not expect was, in just 3 years, he had advanced from the early Khanate stage to the mid-primal core stage. I, Chen Danden, have asked myself, in this lifetime, I will never have the chance to kill him with my own power." There was a hint of bitterness in Chen Danden's voice as she spoke. Her gaze towards the young man became colder and colder. As soon as Chen Danden's words came out, the crowd fell silent again. From the early Khanate stage to the mid-primal core stage in 3 years? Could there be such an adept on the planet of Ziyun? At that moment, besides the group of primal core adepts from the Divine Light sect, everyone else, including Qi Ming and the other senior members of the Xianin sect, had a look of doubt on their faces. No one dared to believe Chen Danden's words. This was because Chen Danden's words were too shocking and unbelievable. From the early Khanate stage to the mid-primal core stage in 3 years? Was it possible? Uncle Master, sect leader, senior brother. Chen Danden's gaze swept across Qi Ming, Lu Yi, and Bai Shitang, and she said seriously, "This Zhou Donghuang's growth is too fast, too frightening. It's fortunate that he came today. If he was allowed to continue to grow, in a few years, no one in the Xianin sect would be able to stop him." Chen Danden said. Chen Danden. As soon as Chen Danden finished speaking, Zhou Donghuang spoke. He looked at Chen Danden with disdain, sarcasm, and mostly mockery. "What you mean by this is, right now, there is someone in the Xianin sect who can stop me?" The corner of Zhou Donghuang's mouth curled up in a mocking smile. As soon as Zhou Donghuang said this, he attracted everyone's attention. He really came. The leader of the Divine Light sect, Tua Jin, looked at the young man in white with a complicated expression and sighed softly. The Xianin sect is finished. The right guardian of the Divine Light sect, the Golden Essence Adept, Ci Xian, shook his head. Unlike the group of primal core adepts from the Divine Light sect, the rest of the people present, upon hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, only thought that Zhou Donghuang had gone mad. A mid-primal core adept dared to spout such nonsense? If he was not crazy, then what was? Where did this lunatic come from? Challenging the Xianin sect like this, he's dead meat. Based on his personality, how did he survive until now? Whether it was the people from the Qianqiu sect, the Tianwu sect, or the Xuesha sect, from the Golden Essence adepts to the early Khanate disciples, they all looked at Zhou Donghuang as if they were looking at a dead man. Little Gold, that Chen Danden thinks that the people from the Xianin sect can defeat brother. In the distance, Yun Lu stood on Little Gold's back. She looked at Chen Danden with a similarly cold gaze. Although this was the first time she had met Chen Danden, she had heard many stories of Chen Danden being ungrateful and betraying her mother and brother Zhou Donghuang. As for Chen Danden, she wanted nothing more than to kill her to avenge her mother and brother. Sometimes, ignorance is a good thing, at least, before she passes away, she will not be in despair for too long. Little Gold shook his head and looked at Chen Danden as if he was looking at a fool, an idiot. Just as the group of people from the Xianin sect heard Zhou Donghuang's words, they were all stunned for a moment, and then they all smiled mockingly. Whoosh! On Zhou Donghuang's body, the solidified, milky white inner yuan was instantly engulfed by a majestic and vast silver flame, making him look like a god of silver flames. And this scene instantly caused the group of people to stare in shock. The primal core adepts of the Xianin sect surrounding Zhou Donghuang, including the Golden Essence adept Qi Ming, could not help but be stunned. They could not understand at all, how could a mid-primal core adept suddenly release the silver inner yuan of a late primal core adept? Furthermore, it was such a ridiculously thick inner yuan. Whoosh! Under the gaze of the crowd, Zhou Donghuang's figure flashed, and the silver flame pierced through the air, heading straight for Qi Ming, who had not had time to react. And just as Qi Ming regained his composure, a hand reached out from the silver flame. A hand reached out from the silver flames that were rushing towards him. There was an unfolded folding fan in the hand, and the ribs of the fan flickered with an extremely cold light. Whoosh! The silver flame brushed past Qi Ming's body, and the folding fan pierced through the air, bringing with it a sound like a knife cutting through the air. No, almost at the same time that the crowd saw fresh blood splatter through the air and the head of the Xianin sect's golden core cultivator, Qi Ming, separated from his body and flew into the air, they heard Qi Ming's shrill and despairing cry. What the naked eye saw was traveling at the speed of light. And the speed of light was faster than the speed of sound. Above Qi Ming's head, which had flown into the air, was a pair of staring eyes filled with terror, and his blood-stained face was filled with despair. This scene caused everyone present to subconsciously hold their breaths. Qi Ming, the Xianin sect Golden Essence adept, was dead? Whoosh! 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 Buzz! 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 Before Qi Ming's head had even landed on the ground, and before the crowd had time to react, Zhou Donghuang had struck and killed all the Xianin sect primal core adepts who had surrounded him. One by one, heads flew into the air, and fresh blood splattered everywhere. It was like a game of chess for Chen Dandan. End of this chapter. Chapter 202. Whoosh! Whoosh! In the dead silence of the feast of Ziyun, blood rained down, and the sound of it hitting the ground could be heard clearly. Chen Dandan's body and face were covered in blood, but now she stood rooted to the ground, looking dazedly at the young man standing in the air with his hands clasped behind his back. Apart from the group of primal core adepts from the Divine Light sect and Yun Lu, who were not surprised by this, the rest of the people present were completely shocked. Just now, the group of primal core adepts from the Xianin sect had moved to surround the young man. At that moment, they could clearly see that the body of the Xianin sect's great elder Qi Ming was surrounded by a golden halo, which was obviously the golden inner yuan unique to Golden Essence adepts. As for the Xianin sect leader Lu Yi, the Xianin sect head elder by Shitang, and another elder of the Xianin sect, their bodies were also surrounded by silver inner yuan. 3 late primal core adepts. As for the other 4 primal core adepts from the Xianin sect, 2 were surrounded by solid white inner yuan, and 2 were surrounded by a faint white fog. 2 mid-primal core adepts, and 2 early primal core adepts. However, it was these people who had been killed by the young man in the blink of an eye. Thump. 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 It was only when the bodies of the primal core adepts from the Xianin sect fell to the ground that the onlookers came back to their senses, their faces full of shock and fear. One by one, their gazes fell on the young man in white who was holding a folding fan like a scholar in the air, and they were all filled with fear. Golden Essence adepts were killed by him so easily? And their heads were cut off? In the short span of 2 breaths, all the primal core adepts of the Xianin sect, from the Golden Essence adept Qi Ming and sect leader Lu Yi, down to 2 mid-primal core elders and 2 early primal core disciples, are all dead? My God! Who exactly is he? With just the silver inner yuan unique to late primal core adepts, he managed to kill 8 primal core adepts from the Xianin sect. In front of him, the Golden Essence adepts and early primal core adepts are no different, and they were all decapitated by him with just one move. Waves of gasps could be heard coming from the crowd at the feast of Ziyun. Now, the members of the other three major sects of Ziyun who had been gloating over Zhou Donghuang's misfortune, whether they were from the Celestial Sect, the Thousand-Year Sect, or the Xuesha Sect, were all pale with fright. Even the Golden Core cultivators in their sects were looking at the young man standing with his hands behind his back in the air with fear in their eyes. They did not think that the young man had killed the Golden Core cultivator of the Xianin sect with a single blow because of carelessness. Just now, when the young man moved, his speed had already surpassed theirs. Moreover, the power of the attack displayed by the young man with the folding fan was so great that even if they attacked with all their strength, they wouldn't be able to display even half of its power. Terrifying. It was too terrifying. Although his true essence is only the silver-colored true essence of a silver core cultivator, its density is at least twice that of an ordinary silver core cultivator. It's equivalent to the power of 3 or more silver core cultivators perfectly fusing together. This in itself is already no weaker than a core formation cultivator. The power of a golden core cultivator's true essence is only slightly more than twice that of a silver core cultivator's true essence. That folding fan of his is definitely a spirit weapon. Furthermore, it's not an ordinary spirit weapon. At this moment, the Golden Core cultivators of the 4 major sects, including the Golden Core cultivator of the Divine Light sect, all looked at the folding fan in the young man's hands with heated gazes. However, that was all. Although their gazes were heated, they did not contain any greed. It was not that they did not want this folding fan, but they knew that even if they wanted it, they would not be able to. With the young man's power, if they dared to be greedy, they would end up like the Golden Core cultivator of the Xianin sect, Qi Ming. No, a scream filled with disbelief rang out. It was Chen Dandan who, after regaining her senses, sat paralyzed on the ground. She kept shaking her head, her eyes filled with disbelief. No. Impossible. Impossible. How could he have such power? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. I must be dreaming. I must be dreaming. Yes. I'm dreaming. I'm definitely dreaming. Chen Dandan sat paralyzed on the ground, looking at the glaring fresh blood all around her. Her entire body trembled uncontrollably. The fresh blood continuously attacked her pupils, causing her to feel as if her heart was about to explode. Did she really think that she was dreaming? No. When she saw Zhou Donghuang standing in the air and becoming a primal core adept, she had already confirmed that she was not dreaming. Now, saying that she was dreaming was just her way of consoling herself. She was deeply afraid that she would not be able to take it and would be devastated, or even die. Just as the atmosphere at the scene became oppressive. Young man, I never thought that in just 3 short years, you would actually have the power to kill a late primal core elder of the Xianin sect. An old voice, full of energy and full of violence, rang out from afar. Although the voice was far away, it had a frightening penetrating power. It passed through the air and reached the scene of the Feast of Ziyun, entering everyone's ears. Before the person arrived, the voice arrived first. Teacher. Among them was his senior disciple, the head elder of the Xianin sect, Bai Shitang, and his junior, the Xianin sect's grand elder Qi Ming, as well as the Xianin sect leader, Lu Yi. Qi Ming. Regarding the deaths of Bai Shitang and Lu Yi, Zhongye only felt anger. However, Qi Ming's death was unbelievable to him. Qi Ming was a golden essence adept after all. But now, he had died here? When Zhongye looked at Zhou Donghuang, who was standing not too far away from him, his eyes were filled with disbelief. You're just a late primal core adept, and yet you're able to kill a golden essence adept? Zhou Donghuang looked at Zhongye calmly and said casually, 3 years ago, I told you, Zhongye, took Chen Dandan away, which means that you've brought the entire Xianin sect with you, Zhou Donghuang. Today, Zhou Donghuang, am here to end this. As soon as Zhou Donghuang said this, everyone present realized that the reason why the young man in white had appeared here and killed the people of the Xianin sect was all because of Chen Dandan. Femme fatale. At this moment, when many people looked at Chen Dandan again, this thought popped into their minds. Ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha, Zhongya laughed without warning, and his laughter grew louder and louder. After a while, under the shocked gazes of the crowd, he stopped laughing. After he stopped laughing, Zhongya's gaze was like lightning as he laughed coldly. Young man, if you had made your move 3 days ago, you might have been able to kill me, destroy the Xianin sect, and end your so-called karma. But, you waited until today to make your move. You are destined to be dreaming. As soon as Zhongya finished speaking, a strong aura swept out from Zhongya's body, followed by a black force that howled out from his body. In the blink of an eye, a 10-foot-tall shadow rose from Zhongya's body. It was the shadow of a black raven, the size of a small hill. It stood upright in the air. Around this tall black crow shadow, there seemed to be a black halo that flowed like water, emitting waves of terrifying aura. Although they were far away, many of the spectators who were of a lower level of training could still feel the pressure of this aura, causing their faces to turn red, and some of them even began to bleed from their orifices. This is Dharma power? Many people's eyes narrowed. End of this chapter. Chapter 203. No wonder I felt that something was wrong just now. Senior Zhongya of the Xianin sect, as a golden essence adept, why is there no golden inner yuan surrounding him when he stands in the air? It turns out that he has already entered the Dharma stage. An elder of the 1,000-year sect sighed and said, the Dharma stage returns to its natural state, and the inner yuan becomes formless. Dharma, our planet of Ziyun has produced a third Dharma adept? At this moment, other than the group of Xianin sect members who were overjoyed, the members of the other 4 sects had complicated looks on their faces. The first Dharma adept in the history of the planet of Ziyun was from the Xianin sect. This was something that the other 4 sects did not want to see. That year, the first Dharma adept in the history of the planet of Ziyun was from the Tianwu sect. At that time, the Dharma adept of the Tianwu sect wanted to destroy the other 4 sects before he left the planet of Ziyun, so that the Tianwu sect could unify the planet of Ziyun. As the only Dharma adept in the planet of Ziyun, the Dharma adept of the Tianwu sect was invincible in the planet of Ziyun. However, in the end, the other 4 sects joined forces, causing the Tianwu sect to hesitate and not dare to destroy them. At that time, the 4 sects had made a statement: if the Dharma adept of the Tianwu sect dared to attack again, the primal core adepts of the 4 sects would abandon their sects, leave the planet of Ziyun, and escape into the stars to seek revenge and slaughter the elders and disciples of the Tianwu sect. So what if the Tianwu sect had a Dharma adept? Could it be that the group of elders and disciples of the Tianwu sect could hide in the Tianwu sect forever and be protected by the Dharma adept? If anyone came out, we would kill them. With the determination of the 4 sects, the Dharma adept of the Tianwu sect finally gave up on the idea of destroying the other 4 sects and unifying the planet of Ziyun. Furthermore, the Dharma adept of the Tianwu sect was determined to leave the planet of Ziyun. Naturally, he could not leave any hidden dangers for the Tianwu sect before he left. Therefore, when the Xinguang sect had the second Dharma adept in the history of the planet of Ziyun, although the other 4 sects were wary, they did not panic. Because they knew that the Xinguang sect would not dare to act recklessly, just like the Tianwu sect. Go! Go, the Golden Essence adepts of the Divine Light sect, the 1,000-year sect, the Tianwu sect, and the Xuesha sect, who were seated in the spectator stands, flew up one after another and flew off in different directions at an extremely fast speed. The reason why the Golden Essence adepts of the 4 main sects had left was because they were worried that they would be killed by the Xianin sect's elder Zhongya, who had already entered the Dharma stage. On top of that, they had to pass on the news of Zhongya's breakthrough back to their respective sects, as well as make preparations to guard against Zhongya. This was to prevent Zhongye from destroying their sects one by one in the future. The other members of the four sects, led by their respective sect masters, stayed to watch the show. As long as the Golden Essence adepts left, even if Zhongye had already entered the Dharma stage, he would not dare to touch them. Zhongye naturally saw the Golden Essence adepts of the four major sects leaving, and he could guess what they were thinking. However, he did not stop them. Although, if he tried to stop them, he could kill all four Golden Core cultivators in one fell swoop. However, if he did that, the white-clothed young man would definitely be able to escape. Once the young man escaped and made a comeback in the future, it would be the doomsday of the Xianin sect. In 3 years' time, the early Khanate adept, who was like an ant in his eyes, had not only entered the late primal core stage and became a silver essence adept, he even had the ability to kill the golden essence adept of the Xianin sect, Qi Ming. Such an existence was too much of a threat to the Xianin sect. Therefore, he could only watch as the golden essence adepts of the four major sects left and escaped. That is Dharma? At the same time, a group of people who had been shocked by the Dharma that had appeared on Zhongye's body recovered one after another, and a look of shock appeared on their faces. Dharma adept. To them, this was a legendary existence. And today, they had personally witnessed a Dharma adept reveal his Dharma. I really did not expect that there would be so many surprises at the Feast of Ziyun this time. First, a young man appeared out of nowhere and killed the 8 primal core adepts led by the Golden Essence adept of the Xianin sect within 2 breaths. Then, Elder Zhongye of the Xianin sect appeared and revealed his Dharma power. The Golden Essence adepts of the 4 major sects all took the opportunity to escape. It looks like they were also worried that Elder Zhongye, who had entered the Dharma stage, would attack them. I originally thought that even if Elder Zhongye came, it would be useless, but I did not expect him to already be a Dharma adept. Now, it looks like the unlucky one is not Elder Zhongye, but this young man. He probably did not even dream that Elder Zhongye had already entered the Dharma stage. From what Elder Zhongye said, he must have just entered the Dharma stage 2 days ago. The onlookers all stared at Zhongye with sparkling eyes, their faces filled with excitement at the same time. Dharma adept. If it had been in the past, they would not have dared to dream that they would one day be able to see a Dharma adept. Not only would they be able to brag about it for the rest of their lives, but they could also let their descendants continue to brag about it. Our ancestors had once seen a Dharma adept with their own eyes. Teacher, has become a Dharma adept? Chen Dandan regained her composure and stood up once again. This time, her snake-like waist was straight as she stared at Zhongye with shining eyes. At the same time, she bowed and congratulated him. Congratulations, teacher, for achieving your wish and entering the Dharma stage. It was obvious that Chen Dandan did not know that Zhongye had entered the Dharma stage beforehand. Zhongye looked at Chen Dandan with a gentle gaze. For him to be able to enter the Dharma stage, his disciple was the main reason. Just as he had said 3 years ago when he came to the Valley of the Medicine Masters, he wanted to enter the Dharma stage, and he needed to have a clear mind. If he wanted to save Chen Dandan's life and take her as his disciple, he had to do it. The more clear his mind was, the higher his chances of entering the Dharma stage. 2 days ago, he had successfully entered the Dharma stage, and his lifespan had been extended by 300 years. Hence, he looked much younger than before. Now, he could live for another 300 years. After breaking through 2 days ago, Zhongye had stayed in his room to adapt to his new training. Only today, when a late primal core elder of the Xianin sect hurriedly came to find him to pass on a message to Zhou Donghuang, did he come out. As soon as he came out, he came straight here. Zhou Donghuang. When she looked at the young man dressed in white again, Chen Dandan's eyes lit up, as if she had been reborn. Her eyes were filled with murderous intent. You probably never dreamed that my teacher, ancestor Zhongye, had already entered the Dharma stage, right? I have to admit that your level of training is astonishing, and it can even be said to be nature-defying. Now that you are so strong, it is difficult to find a match for anyone below the Dharma stage. But, it is a pity that you are unlucky to have met a teacher who has already become a Dharma adept. As she spoke, Chen Dandan looked at Zhongye again. Teacher, since you have already entered the Dharma stage, there is no need to think that lowering your status to kill Zhou Donghuang will affect your desire to enter the Dharma stage. Zhongye said calmly, even if I have not entered the Dharma stage, with his current strength, even if I wanted to kill him, it would not affect my desire to enter the Dharma stage. Of course, if I had not entered the Dharma stage, I would definitely not be a match for him now. When Zhongye looked at Zhou Donghuang again, he smiled sinisterly. Kid, didn't you want to end the karma between me and the Xianin sect? Come on. I want to see how a special silver essence adept like you, who can kill a golden essence adept, can fight against a Dharma adept like me. As he spoke, Zhongye's eyes were filled with mockery and disdain. Who would have thought that you would actually enter the Dharma stage? Zhou Donghuang looked at Zhongye, his eyes calm and his face expressionless. When Zhongye had first appeared, Zhou Donghuang had already noticed that there was no golden inner yuan surrounding Zhongye's body. Coupled with Zhongye's youthful appearance, it was not difficult to guess that Zhongye had already entered the Dharma stage and become a Dharma adept. As the saying goes, the higher you stand, the harder you fall. By saving Chen Dandan and entering the Dharma stage, you, Zhongye, have lived for another 3 years. If you had not saved Chen Dandan, even if you had no hope of entering the Dharma stage, from today onwards, you, Zhongye, would have lived for a few more years. Zhou Donghuang shook his head lightly. What a pity, what a pity. But then again, a few years of your life in exchange for a few days of training in the Dharma stage is worth it for you. Following Zhou Donghuang's words, Zhongye and Chen Dandan were stunned, and the entire crowd once again fell silent. Zhou Donghuang's words could be understood by anyone who was not a fool. What he meant was, even if Zhongye had entered the Dharma stage, he would definitely die today. Zhongye is already a Dharma adept, does he really have the confidence to kill Zhongye? After seeing Zhongye's Dharma power, the leader of the Divine Light sect, Tua Jin, felt that Zhou Donghuang was doomed. But now, Zhou Donghuang's attitude had shaken his confidence. Could Zhou Donghuang really kill Zhongye, who was already a Dharma adept? Is he crazy? Although his abilities are not bad, the difference between a primal core adept and a Dharma adept is like a chasm. To kill a Dharma adept who is a whole stage above him? I'm afraid he's still dreaming. Idiot. Upon hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, the leaders of the Thousand-Year sect, Tianwu sect, and Xuesha sect all shook their heads as they spoke. This was especially so for the leaders of the Thousand-Year sect and Xuesha sect. They looked at Zhou Donghuang as if they were looking at a madman, a fool, and an idiot. Brother. Yunlu stood on the back of the golden-crowned eagle, Little Gold. The gloominess on her face had been swept away, and her eyes were shining. Just now, when she saw Zhongye's Dharma power, she had been worried that her brother would not be a match for Zhongye. Now, hearing her brother's confident words, she was not worried at all. Crazy. Even Little Gold could not believe that his young master was not even afraid of a Dharma adept. As for the spectators, they did not think that the young man had a chance of winning either. After all, the young man was facing the third Dharma adept in the history of Ziyun in the past 1,000 years. End of this chapter. Chapter 204. Zhou Donghuang, you're already at death's door, and you still dare to boast. Chen Dandan laughed coldly after regaining her composure. She did not think that Zhou Donghuang would be able to defeat her teacher, Zhongye. If her teacher, Zhongye, was still the golden essence adept of the past, she did not think that her teacher, Zhongye, would be a match for Zhou Donghuang, based on the way that Zhou Donghuang had killed the other golden essence adept of the Xianin sect, Qi Ming. However, Zhongye was now a Dharma adept. The power of a Dharma adept was not something that a primal core adept could compare to. In front of a Dharma adept, a golden essence adept was not much different from an early primal core adept. They could be easily killed. Rascal, do you really think that, just because you killed my junior brother, Qi Ming, you can fight me? Zhongye looked at Zhou Donghuang with a mocking smile. Then, he took a step forward, and the 3-meter-tall black raven that rose from his body also flapped its wings. Instantly. Whoosh! Whoosh! As the black raven flapped its wings, a strong gust of wind rose in the feast of Ziyun. Some of the onlookers with lower levels of practice were even blown back by the strong wind. In the air, many flying beasts were also blown away by the wind. As for Zhou Donghuang, his robe was also blown by the wind, like a white flame was burning. Today, I will show you the power of the third Dharma adept in the history of Ziyun. As soon as Zhongye finished speaking, his entire body flew forward. When the crowd heard Zhongye's words, they could not take their eyes off him. More accurately, they were looking at the 3-meter-tall black raven that had risen from Zhongye's body. A 3-meter-tall Dharma was the symbol of an early Dharma adept. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Zhongye flew forward, and the black raven on his body flapped its wings. As if it had turned into a flash of light, it flew towards Zhou Donghuang. Is this the power of a Dharma adept? The power of a Dharma adept is above the Dharma formed from inner yuan. Even the Dharma formed by an early Dharma adept can easily defeat the golden inner yuan of a golden essence adept. This Zhou Donghuang is going to be unlucky. The black raven Dharma power flew out and swooped down majestically. Its huge body blocked out the sun as it followed Zhongye to attack Zhou Donghuang. Most of the onlookers looked at Zhou Donghuang with pity in their eyes. In their eyes, although Zhou Donghuang's abilities were not bad, he was definitely no match for Zhongye. Die! Die! Chen Dandan had a crazed look in her eyes as she laughed coldly in her heart. Zhou Donghuang, when you die, I will return to the 16 countries of the East Valley, kill your mother, and send her to reunite with you. The group of Xiantian cultivators from the Xianin sect who had survived were all gloating at the scene before them. If you, Zhongye, were one of those supreme sects or star clans, with my current abilities, I would naturally be no match for you. It's a pity that you, Zhongye, are merely a Dharma adept from a low-level training planet. You simply cannot unleash the true battle power of a Dharma adept. Faced with the menacing Zhongye, Zhou Donghuang laughed in disdain. In the next moment, he raised his hand, and the 18 blades of the fan in his hand instantly separated. Silver light surrounded his body, as if 18 dragons were swimming around the 18 blades of the fan. Today, I, Zhou Donghuang, will make you, Zhongye, the shortest living Dharma adept in the history of the Ziyun planet. Zhou Donghuang's voice was indifferent as he spoke. With a shake of his body, the 18 blades of the fan in front of him instantly transformed into 18 arrows that shot towards Zhongye. Whoosh! 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 As the 18 blades of the fan flew through the air, it was as if they had transformed into 18 rays of light that carried an awe-inspiring aura as they rushed towards the Black Crow Dharma power. What a strong inner yuan! As soon as Zhou Donghuang made his move, Zhongye realized how terrifying his inner yuan was. Compared to before he had become a Dharma adept, his inner yuan was at least twice as strong. Luckily, I have become a Dharma adept, otherwise, would definitely die today. Zhongye secretly rejoiced. He is just a silver essence adept, how can he have such great power? The fan in his hand seems to have doubled his inner yuan. Is it an ultimate primal core spirit weapon? As he guessed that the fan in Zhou Donghuang's hand was an ultimate primal core spirit weapon, Zhongye's heart skipped a beat. This was too shocking for him. Young lad, I did not expect your inner yuan to be this strong, however, this level of inner yuan is not enough to go against me, a Dharma adept. Taking a deep breath, Zhongye temporarily suppressed the shock in his heart as he looked at Zhou Donghuang, who was approaching him along with the 18 blades of the fan. Is that so? Zhou Donghuang laughed lightly. With a shake of his body, his entire person was like a ghost as he dashed forward. In the blink of an eye, he had brushed past the 18 blades of the fan. Whoosh! 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 As the 18 blades of the fan brushed past Zhou Donghuang, not only did the silver light on their bodies increase, but most of the blades even changed their direction of travel. In the blink of an eye, the 18 wings of the fan surrounded Zhongye from all directions. Then, they whizzed towards Zhongye, like 18 silver meteors in the starry sky, attacking a planet from all angles. What an unnecessary move! Zhongye sneered in disdain. Do you think that your attack can deal with the Dharma formed by my vital energy? As soon as Zhongye finished speaking, the black raven Dharma power on his body let out a shrill and ear-piercing shriek. The sound waves swept out and instantly ruptured the eardrums of the Khanate adepts present. The chi-gathering adepts who were closer to it started bleeding from their orifices, and some of them even fell to the ground and died. Seeing this, the expressions of the people present changed. Boom! Kaboom! The aura of the black raven Dharma power exploded, and the rolling waves of air spread out in all directions. Like a shockwave, it destroyed the high stage of the Feast of Ziyun. Chen Dandan, who was still on the high stage, was thrown into the air and spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, with a look of fear on her face, she tried to escape. Run! Get away from me! Don't get caught in the crossfire! Apart from the people of the four main sects who were still in the spectator stands, the rest of the people quickly left the Feast of Ziyun. Although the people of the four main sects did not leave, a group of primal core adepts also made their moves. Their inner yuan swept out and formed a layer of defense to protect the Khanate adepts of their own sections. After all, it was only the remnant power of the Black Raven Dharma power, and their inner yuan was barely enough to withstand it. Is this the power of a Dharma adept? That Zhou Donghuang is dead meat. Chen Dandan ran to watch from afar. Although she was in a sorry state, when she looked up again, she was still excited, as if she could already see the scene of Zhou Donghuang dying at the hands of Zhongye. Dharma adepts, after forming their Dharma power, need to refine their Dharma power so that it does not have any flaws. As the 18 blades of the fan turned into a sword-like attack and landed on the body of the Black Raven Dharma power, Zhou Donghuang's calm voice instantly rang out. If I'm not wrong, not only have you not refined your Dharma power, but you have also not confirmed the flaws of your Dharma power, right? As soon as Zhou Donghuang's words reached Zhongye's ears, Zhongye furrowed his eyebrows for a moment before relaxing them again. He laughed coldly and said, "Young man, you don't have to lie to me. If my Dharma power has any flaws, you can attack it." Zhongye obviously did not believe Zhou Donghuang's words. Bang! Bang! At the same time, Zhou Donghuang's fan split apart, and the 18 blades of the fan, carrying with them a strong silver inner yuan, all landed on the body of the Black Raven Dharma power on Zhongye's body. This wave of attacks was easily blocked by the Black Raven Dharma power with a flap of its wings. As for the remaining 6 rays of silver light, they landed on the body of the Black Raven Dharma power. 4 of them did not cause any damage to the Black Raven Dharma power, but the other 2, once they landed on the body of the Black Raven Dharma power, caused it to let out a shrill cry. Not good. As soon as he heard the cry of the Black Raven Dharma power, Zhongye felt a rebounding force from the Black Raven Dharma power back into his body, causing the blood in his body to churn. A moment later, his internal organs were shaken to the point where they trembled. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the Black Raven Dharma power had been reduced from a height of 10 feet to a height of 5 feet. Zhongye also spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face turned as white as a sheet. His entire body seemed to have aged in that instant. What a disgrace to the Dharma adepts. As Zhongya spat out blood and was injured, Zhou Donghuang had already arrived near Zhongya. With a wave of his hand, the 18 blades of the fan returned to his hand and reformed into a fan. I thought that it would be good enough if I could hit one of your Dharma power's weaknesses. I never thought that I would hit 2 of them. Weak. Too weak. The silver flames on Zhou Donghuang's body exploded, and in an instant, it was as if he had transformed into a ball of silver flames that flew towards the heavily injured Zhongya. With only the 5-foot-tall black raven Dharma power left, Zhou Donghuang was not afraid even if he were to face it head-on. How is this possible? Zhongya had never dreamed that in the first round of battle, he would be severely injured by his opponent. Furthermore, his opponent's attacks were far weaker than his Dharma powers. Could it be that my Dharma power really has a weakness? As he thought about this, Zhongya realized that Zhou Donghuang was once again charging towards him. This time, he was no longer relying on the spirit weapon in his hand, but was directly wielding it. Even if I am injured, I can still use half of my full strength. It is more than enough to kill you. Zhongya's face turned cold, and the 5-foot-tall black raven Dharma power on his body retracted. Around his body, a layer of black light formed, like a layer of black armor. Dharma armor. This was also a technique used by Dharma adepts. It allowed their Dharma power to form a layer of defense around their body, and it could also allow the inner yuan within their body to break out of their body at the fastest speed possible. Of course, most Dharma adepts would use their Dharma power to crush their opponents with brute force. Very few people would use Dharma armor. However, Zhou Donghuang's technique had frightened Zhongya, and he was deeply afraid that Zhou Donghuang would once again attack the weakness of his Dharma power. End of this chapter. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.